AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
Hey, welcome everybody. So we're a little bit late today. It's my fault. I went and got my eyes examined whatever I did. So we got Tony joining us from New Jersey. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, we were just talking off air there, and I don't know. We didn't do the time change. Y'all did a time change. I wasn't paying attention, so I think it happened on Sunday or something, or Saturday night, and I just got other things in my mind, so I wasn't paying attention, and now I have to remember all the different math changes for us. So I'm 3 hours different. I think I'll have it figured out next week. But anyway, so that being said, thanks to everybody who does join us, and thanks, Tony, for taking some time out of a Saturday, chat about stuff, teach everybody about the gun questions they might have. I think we did have some questions last week. I can't remember, but I could, while we're chatting, go look at them to give us something to start with. But while I'm doing that, what's been going on? What happened all week?
Oh, sure, man. Damn, I don't even remember what happened. I got some stuff going on, trying to reach out to different companies. I have a barrel from a company named Shaw Barrels, which makes quality barrels for your AR-15s, bolt-action rifles. And I had, I think, Sean from Shaw on, and I was talking about how I took my AR-9 to a carbine class, and I had a squib load. So the projectile was actually stuck in the barrel, and we couldn't get it unseated. So I switched over to my high point 9mm carbine, and I have it in the bullpup chassis, and I was able to run it through the class and complete the class with it. A majority of the class, actually. My AR-9 went down second exercise. So, second drill. So anyway, they said they'd send me a barrel, and they finally sent it to me. It wasn't a delay on their part, it was on mine. And they contacted them after I ran into them at the Great American Outdoor Show again and called them up. So they got me, and it's a very lightweight 9mm fluted barrel. You can check it out on their website. This is very pretty. And I have, I think, 15, this is a 16-inch barrel, of course, because the law. And it's the only one they make in 9mm. So if you want to go check out the barrel, go ahead. It's pretty freaking cool. It's really lightweight, and it's like, what do you call that? Stainless and fluted, and weighs a pound maybe. It's a shame it's going to go under my M-Lock grip, so you probably won't be able to see it, but it's really worth it. I think it's cool.
You could drill holes in the grips or something.
Oh, it's got M-Lock holes in, so you can see it. Yeah, you can see it.
Paint it glow in the dark color, and put blue lights inside the handguard so it glows.
Yeah, pull a LED in it, you know.
So this was, what class is this? Like this the ones you've been in recently, or was this like a while ago?
Oh, this was October of, is it last year? I think it was October of last year.
Oh, okay. So that's fairly recent then.
Yeah, I think it was last year. Dude,
and then
time flies.
Got the projectile out of there already then, since then?
Oh, no, that projectile never left. It's still in there. Okay. So I have the upper here. I purchased it. I caught a sale. Yeah, here it is in my little hands right now. I caught a sale on Palmetto State just for a 9mm upper. I'd already been dealing with Matador Arms back in the day when the original owners owned it, and they sent me something they call Mag X, and I'd converted it.
No, I'll be interviewing.
Hello?
Oh, sorry, I'm fast forwarding through last week's show.
Oh, okay.
I was muted,
no problem.
Not muted.
So, so I had this upper. I put it together with a Mag X Matador Arms back in the day. Awesome little thing. Doesn't have, it's pretty cool. It's just a magazine conversion that have your AR-15, regular AR-15 lower, except Glock mags. So I swapped it around. I took this to class because one, it's cheaper to run 9mm ammo, I'm shooting in Jersey, so there were not going to be any longer distances. It was going to be at 50 yards as far as you were going to shoot. So why have an AR-15 burning through 5.56, 2.23 when you can have 9mm? So that's what I bought out. And when it went, feet up, I had another 9mm backing it up. I had the high point, so I ran that. We get back, and I was like, all right, this is retired. Pull the thing, pull the mag thing. I'm not using this 9mm anymore. And then Shaw was on the show, and they were like, hey, man, we'll sing you out a barrel. So now I have to put this AR back together again. And if I'm going to do it at diversity shoots, I'm probably going to reach out to a company. Dang, I forgot the company. They make conversion kits for their lowers too. And I'll reach out to one of them because Matador Arms no longer sells it. So I don't want to bring things to the diversity shoot that people can't buy if they like it. So that's how I'm going to run with that. If people wonder what do I bring and why do I bring it? For the most part, I bring it because it's still on the market. And if someone likes it, they can actually, if someone likes it, they can actually buy it. So
have you ever done I guess if you did I know some people who would fill out a spreadsheet or something, but you could make like a form, I guess, that dumps out into a spreadsheet and have your volunteers just to put a little tick box, what caliber they brought, what models or whatever if they want. And they're not mandatory, but just to collect data. Just be interesting because you've talked about it before that you're introducing people to the firearms and to the community and like introducing them to like gun shops and we don't really talk about it, but like range etiquette and gun shop procedures, just for people that are uninitiated or unfamiliar with it, right? But then at the same time they're going there to shoot a gun, and since the ranges that you go to it's not like a situation where you get like a waiver or a voucher or something because you're at the event and you walk up and rent a gun from the place, right? Like it's not like that. So instead you're relying on the guns that the volunteers and that you bring. But then that gives the people who attend like a diverse, like whatever opportunity or like like library of guns, I guess. I mean, I guess I was just rambling here, but that's an element to it that, especially if you're going to like, keep doing it, like franchise it or something and have other people do it or whatever, that's an element of it that's, I don't know what to call it, like marketable, or I would say, so to people, there's going to be a whole bunch of people who have never shot a gun before and aren't familiar with it, right? And obviously the diversity shoots for them, but then they want to come back again. They want to bring people in order to give them another layer, another element. Having a different kind of guns there gives them that, how am I saying this? Like once you learn about, let's say, a new French food or Mexican food or Indian food or something, you try something, you're like, wow, this is amazing. I had no idea about the flavor or the way they cook or whatever. And then you start to explore. So, you've explored, you showed them like guns. Oh, wow. Okay. Guns are okay, cool. And like gun shops. And I understand all this, but now there's more than one gun, right? And now that, for that second visit or for that person who's just more inquisitive or like understands it more, is more comfortable, like right away, you can start introducing them to, well, there's layers there, right? Like, the whole single action, double action, revolver, semi, even if you had a Derringer or something, somebody might be curious about, but there's that layer to it, I guess is what I'm saying, that like, I mean, you don't want to be taken like, you've ever seen like a construction people nowadays have these like stack on toolboxes that have like wheels, and they'll like, you probably actually have them for your locksmithing stuff, but like construction or contractor toolboxes nowadays all like have wheels and they all snap together and stuff. Pretty soon you're going to have something like that where you're bringing it with, this drawer is 9mm, this drawer is 380s, this drawer is 45s, right? And like, giving people a chance or whatever to see a bunch of different stuff. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that I think you've got that potential too with the shoot. I mean, I'm not telling you nothing you don't know, but I don't know. I guess I'm just rambling here, but that's an element of it that I don't even want to say it's untouched, because you basically are doing it already. I guess what I was really saying is, if you were to have some sort of a form, we could probably put it on the website now that I'm thinking about it if you wanted. But then, like, let your guys, when they want to, type in, or click a button. I brought a 9, I brought a 22, right? And I brought do you ever bring shotguns? Whatever it is they might have brought. And then that way, just for your own, like, for the data nerd side, you could say something like, maybe to companies when you're talking with them too, but just in general, we had this many people, they shot shotguns 100 times, they shot pistols, revolvers. And just having that kind of data is interesting. But then I would also, I don't know, kind of emphasize, I guess, why diversity of the guns you got could be so potentially lucrative, I guess, for somebody who's, it doesn't cost much to give somebody a gun, considering they give them to people who are making YouTube videos and they're about to throw it in the dirt. And right. I mean, I can think of like 3 or 4 guns that people have gotten. I'm exaggerating, because it's probably more like 30 or 40 guns I can think of that, I know people got for nothing by somebody who was trying to get them to show it on camera. And they probably did show it on camera, but then it went right into a drawer or the for sale bin. So it's not like these guns are making dollar bills for these companies when they send them to influencers, where, well, like I say, you had enough shit on your plate, but having, stack of guns or whatever, like I say, a big toolbox full of drawers that you could just wheel in. Somebody could say, I saw a gun in a movie, or I saw something. You could be like, oh, okay, that's a 380 semi-auto. We have something like that here, or we have that gun here.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that because it takes up way too much time. That's also something on. You know what I mean? When we get there, because we have 3 hours. So first hour is everything from the greeting, the intro, the introduction, Second Amendment advocacy groups, the raffle, and food. Like, that's all the first hour. And then after that is getting, in the safety brief, and then getting everyone on the range and getting them to shoot. Usually it's 5 ports, maybe 6 if we're lucky, but it's 20 or more people through those 5 ports, and get them to shoot a lot to make it. I mean, look, running 5 rounds through 2 guns a port would make it worthwhile, but we want to do better than that, because 5 rounds, come on, dude, you're not leaving the house to shoot 5 rounds, even if it's through a staccato that you thinking about buying. So we do more than that. We burn more than that, because it allows, one, your aunt who's never touched a gun, but all of a sudden decided when her daughter went to college that she wanted to be able to, protect herself at home because she's alone. She needs more than 5 rounds. So we want to give them that feel and actually have a conversation. It'll take a couple of people for them, if they're brand new, to start that conversation. So the more times they pull a trigger, the different kinds of firearms, the more it's better for them, I think. So, yeah, because people often ask me, hey, why do you shoot so many rounds, or why do you go through so many rounds? Because this is more than just an intro. This is maybe this is the only time your aunt will ever get out and even try this. And it can be the difference between she was nervous because she only, fired the firearm a couple times before she ran out of the room, or she goes, wait a minute, what? Yeah, you can shoot at every post. Go all 5. Shoot everything from 22s to 9mm pistols to PCCs to I'm just laughing because I realize I'm saying it now. Angelo bought a 308 bolt action from Ruger, their newest one, their Predator. And my supervisor was actually there from my real job, regular job, whatever you want to call it. And he was just running rounds through it and couldn't believe how smooth it was, how much fun he was having. So you can shoot about anything, and it doesn't have to all do with self-defense. It can do fun guns. We have things like single action 22s from both Ruger and who else? Yeah, we had the Ruger high-end ones, the very expensive all-metal ones. We also had the Ruger Wrangler, which is new. We have my Ruger SR22. We have the 22 from SIG. That's like a striker-fired version. So we have pretty much everything along the gambit, including 50 Beowulf on the line. So they get to try out a bunch of different guns and ammo, and it's fun for my guys too because they can bring whatever, and that's a box I don't want to stick them in. Hey guys, make sure you bring the same gun every week. Well, no, maybe they don't want to have their $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 handgun there every week. Maybe they want to bring it like twice a year, get it out, get some trigger pulls on it, and then put it back. So, yeah, we're going to just bring what we're going to bring unless somebody actually requests something like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a fill in the blank. And if you guys have one at the next event, that'd be really cool. Yeah, we can do something like that. But as far as give someone a choice after they show up, because we used to actually start it when we were at Gunfire Range in Woodland Park. They had over, at that time, 10, 11 years ago, they had 100 and something guns you could rent, and they let us do a free rental. So we'd pick up a rental gun for people to use, and then people could pick up their own, and it just got out of hand. Hey,
oops, did I change my microphone?
Something was beeping. Did you hear it?
No, I think I was changing my microphone. Does it still work?
Yeah. Okay. I just didn't know whether my
I went to unmute and I
right.
hit the little arrow that changes my microphone. That doesn't help nothing, but I was trying to unmute and it screwed up.
Okay.
Oh, so basically you've kind of, everything I was just saying there, you've kind of already experimented with that sort of already.
Yeah, I mean, and it's great to give those options, and that was something that was okay when you had 5 people attending. But once you got 20 plus, it's just too much.
Well, we don't have anybody saying anything out there, but I did find the question from last week. And I don't think we addressed it.
Yeah, cool.
But the pocket holster for a J-frame, not the most, amazing question or nothing. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's a good question. It's not like the most often asked question or anything, but I figure that's why it's worth checking it out. Because I don't think that many people carry a J-frame in their pocket, so they're not going to have much experience or offer. But I don't know. Have you ever done that? I mean, I do it every single day, basically. So I don't even ask anymore because you people are pretty much. I would say it's not quite as controversial as appendix carry, but it's people have opinions, and they don't like pocket carry. They'll tell you. And then people at pocket carry just don't even bring it up because if you say it to the wrong person, they'll tell you about how it's such a bad idea or whatever.
Yeah, they continually talk about how just everything is a bad idea that doesn't conform with whatever the latest thing is in self-defense lore, or whenever they dropped out of paying attention to self-defense lore.
That's what it is. Like it's usually whatever the coolest instructor said and you agree with, right? And then I would say it was at first it was like whatever the last training you had, but then people don't get really that much training. So it's not always that for everybody. I think what you're saying. The last thing that you paid attention to, that's what's right.
Yeah, and since I've never carried in a pocket holster at all, actually, did I? No, I carried the whole dang gun in my pocket. I actually, because I'm larger than your average bear, I actually had my Ruger SR-22 in my pocket carry because my pants were big enough to carry a 4.5-inch barrel 22 because it was lightweight, and I had a Dara, Dara, D-A-R-A, I think is the name of the holster that I had. And it was horrible, so I just carried the gun in my pocket because it has a safety and it also has a long double action trigger pull. So it was almost like carrying a revolver, even though it was a semi-automatic. And I carried that for a little bit while my Glock was down. So I did pocket carry a flat semi-automatic 22. And when people go, oh my God, a 22 isn't for self-defense. No, it is not. What is it? Preferred. But I had CCI minimags or velocitors, CCI velocitors, and I've fired thousands upon thousands of rounds from that gun, including in competition in what do you call it? PCC, police combat.
Did you get further from the mic or something? It sounds like the mic got further away.
Okay. The beeping I heard was definitely my mic dying. All right, give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, that coincides then. Well, while you're doing that, I don't know if you can hear me while I'm saying this, but often people jump to CCW and self-defense, right? Because that makes sense. Obviously, it's like 99% of the reason people are going to carry. But there is other reasons to carry besides self-defense. And for those reasons, 22 is just fine. Like any gun is fine for those reasons. So if you're out there, we do have people watching on multiple platforms out there. I understand that the X, it's difficult for folks to type on, I guess. But Packrat's the only one that said anything so far today, except for me and Tony. So feel free to chime in, say hello. Tony's checking out his microphone or putting batteries in his mic, maybe. Looking over here at the subscription list, seeing what kind of stuff people have been posting. I am not a fan of the new YouTube layout where all of a sudden I have to look at shorts at the top every time I click on my subscriptions. That's annoying. But it looks like we've got fewer and fewer of the people I subscribe to posting. A couple of posts here from interviews. Here's a question: do civilians actually need helmets? We've got some people talking about instructor training. Dan and Cheryl Todd have been posting their interviews from SHOT Show. Interesting channel I watch based on security and stuff that has posted sort of the breakdown of the various bots and farms that are running the internet today. Things that you hear about, and you know, they're concepts, but they did a good job of laying it all out, what the different type of like bot farms and click farms and content farms and different things are, how they fit on the ladder, and how they're used with each other to basically either manipulate or create money, you know, by saying kind of the same thing. Oh, I heard something. Heard something again.
Yo.
Heard like,
yeah, I'm
there we
gonna
go.
log off and log back in. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
All right.
These StreamYard's okay, but it's not that great because it will be weird. I've noticed, I don't know if it's StreamYard or not, but I've noticed that a lot of times on my different software, my microphone will disconnect maybe when somebody connects or somebody disconnects, and then I have to disconnect and reconnect. That's what Tony doing now. Still working, trying to run around. I hear that. Gas is like up to almost $4.50 here in Tucson, up from like $2.50 just a minute ago. So I can imagine for people driving around, that's got to be more than annoying. Potentially messing with whole entire situations, really. Now I'm wondering how many people are taking you up on your service because they don't want to drive. You know what I mean? And if that's a factor or not. Now, if it's the other way around, you make money, that's even better. And
all right.
There you go.
Yeah, man. StreamYard was holding on to my mic like it was a Planet Fitness membership. It wouldn't let me cancel. like, let me go, man.
There's no reason to cancel your Planet Fitness membership. It's a no something zone.
Yeah, it's a no quitting zone. Yeah, I quit. I quit and told them they kiss my entire ass and I'll never go back. We signed up. Well, we signed up, and I just left a real gym, and it wasn't even like a hardcore gym, but I was allowed to lift heavy without being made to feel like I was hurting someone else's feelings.
Yeah.
And I was doing it at 5 o'clock in the morning, so the place was empty. And I let the weights down. It was only me and the lady that worked in the gym.
Oh, you made
and
noise?
My wife. I dropped the weight from 3 inches because I didn't have the movement of motion doing bench flies. So I lay all the way down, and it couldn't have been more than 2 or 3 inches drop of 45-pound dumbbells because I was doing flies. So I was just doing it warm up. And she was like, "Hey, you're making noise." And I'm like, "Ma'am, you and I are the only ones in here. You're going to hear me put the weights down." And then I'm lifting up and I'm making sure I lean all the way to one side and put the weight in the center of my chest so I'm not going to pull my back out of alignment when I'm putting the weight down. Mm. And it just got ridiculous. And I was like, and then it came with the, what do you call that thing? The tanning bed. And I was like, well, I'm not going to use the free tanning. Can my wife use it? And she was like, oh, no, she's the secondary member. She can't use it. I'm like, all right, then switch me and my wife. Make her the primary and make me the secondary. Because I'm never going to use your tanning bed. My wife tans.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we can't do that. You'd have to start a whole new membership and it's not covered under the... I was like, wait a minute, lady. We've been here a week. We haven't been here long. What's the problem with just switching it up, starting a new membership and giving us the same deal? I'm not asking for anything except my wife can take my, you know what? Forget the whole thing. What? Cancel the membership. I don't want to be a part of this. You guys are making it too difficult to even like comply with your silliness. Oh, well, you can stop talking, ma'am. You've done quite enough already. And yeah, I didn't have a problem. Maybe because it was in the first 30 days or I was just fed up. There was nothing they were going to be able to tell me to make me want to stay with it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you're not, if you're going to the gym because it's near your house, that's totally different. I've had a Planet, what is it? Planet Fitness, the purple one, forever now. Because whenever I started, was it back in 2016? Whenever I first got the membership, it was because people get them for traveling or whatever, because there's so many of those gyms and they used to be open 24/7. And that means when you're traveling in a vehicle, like I was stealth camping, I'd always have a reason to be in their parking lot because I'm going to the gym, going in there, so I can go in there. And they didn't really care unless it was abused or something, like they didn't care if somebody was basically, camped there, essentially like sleeping in their vehicle for a couple of hours, on their way to somewhere else, and that way you don't have to pay for a hotel. So it worked out perfect there. But I can tell you,
you can take a shower.
I think I've been to like 80 of them. Yeah, exactly. Right. And they're, I'd say, I keep the membership. It's better than there is no other gym that can do it, for one. But it's also, I guess what I'm getting at is I've probably been to, I think 80, maybe more than that of them. And I'd say a majority of them are good. But there's some that are not, that are scary. And then a couple of them are just bad, like, just neglected maybe. Kind of hard to say, because sometimes you'll go to a place and there's a ton of gyms, and then the Planet Fitness will be sort of like nobody cares because there's so many other gyms, so this one's the neglected ones, we can do whatever we want kind of thing. And then other places, they're the only place in town or whatever. And but anyway, going in the middle of the night, usually dudes were doing whatever they wanted and nobody cared. It was that whole rule thing, I think, was from the beginning, when there was more people going to gyms, and that's what helped set them apart or whatever. And, I guess if you're scared of hearing dudes lift weights, then that's nice to have that rule or whatever. But the but being like for I don't know, when did I travel? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, those years. Pretty much if I went to one in the middle of the night, it would either be empty or a bunch of dudes making as much noise as they wanted because they were the only ones in there. So I think that's what happens. And it's not, they get figured out when they can go in and be left alone or something. Or maybe it's like with that manager you can, and with that manager you can't. They figure that shit out.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was just like, yo, bro, what the fuck? I'm not trying
to.
If
you can't just go to the next one, then yeah, you're screwed. Like, then why would you ever want to go back to that gym if they're going to be like that? Like, are you going to wait for that employee to be fired or whatever. Like that's not your. You're hiring a gym, not friends at the place or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not here for life, buddy. So my whole thing was, and then I found out that the department actually has a gym facility.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it's free. So I was like, hi. And I hit that. And I'm about to start going again because changed my eating habits. I've lost weight and I really want to get in a better shape. So I can start running some of these classes. And I want to start up, not only have the energy for 2A4E, but start up the next move for 2A4E, which is actually introducing people to competition shooting with our own competition and also introduce people to hunting.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, that's going to be one of the things. Alternative things you can do with firearms. It's not just about self-protection. And yes, I'm going to work with other. That's what started me with that carbine class I was telling you about. So I could tell people about modern carbine classes that they can take. It was a carbine 2 class, only because I missed out on the 1. But I wanted to have some of the ranges that allow us to do diversity shoots. I want to take their 1 and 2 classes for pistol, rifle, shotgun as a almost, come with me kind of thing on social media. And then to, of course, do a review on it on the podcast. It's not that hard. I'm a dude who's, if you want to use the term middle age, I am not right out of boot camp in shape, but I'm still taking these classes and I'm not embarrassed and I don't find it to be a problem. And if you want to, you live in Jersey or wherever I'm taking the class and want to come with me, you can, kind of thing. I just want to encourage people to get good training. I also want to encourage them to take their guns out and shoot them because, again, if you use the firearm, it becomes a thing you'll more than likely defend and maybe even vote for or vote against or require, vote against anti-gun legislation, or at least it'll have more priority with you when it comes time to voting. Like the Democrats that are in Virginia right now that are firearms owners definitely got to be kicking themselves in the ass because we didn't think this would happen that quickly. Yeah, it's almost like there's an entire group of people telling you it was going to happen.
I was bitching about that last night when I was ranting that I mean, I'm not happy or nothing. It sucks. But at the same time, like, they're a bunch of grown adults in Virginia, and they know they've done successfully, and then they've shit the bed. And you know what I mean? You can't blame somebody when you've kicked ass. You know what I mean? You can't have it both ways. Like, you're either able to kick ass and you laid down and sat, we're lazy, or you can't help it once you won accidentally. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't have it both ways. I believe that they are capable, super able. But I think that, like anybody, we get, what's the word? We assume we
complacent.
Yeah, exactly.
They got complacent. Oh, and
I don't want to be a dick because obviously kicking them when they're down doesn't help nothing. But at the same time, it's frustrating as hell. I'm not going to listen.
No. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, kicking you when you're down ain't what I'm going to do. But reminding you that I told you so. Listen, you need a better person than me because I ain't him. All right. I ain't him. I'm going to tell you. We told you. We continually told you. And to the Virginia Republicans that are sitting there puffing their chest out, you guys didn't come to the polls. I checked those numbers too. Yeah. In blue districts, you didn't come out. And in some Republican districts, you didn't come out in any increasing numbers. Matter of fact, you was less in every district except 3. That's what happens when you think you have it won.
Or that, like, yeah, exactly. Like, oh, we're done. Now we can enjoy our spoils or whatever. Enjoy the victory.
Yeah.
For a minute,
we're going to take a victory lap. Yeah. For until the next election cycle.
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody won in November. All right, cool. You have until January. You have until January to walk around talking about we won. It's short-lived. It's shorter than the football season after the Super Bowl, okay?
Well, we
So
had some connection issues there. Let me go back to the pocket holster thing since it's still on the screen over here. Put it back up. My thing, since like I said, I've carried them for a while like that. Having a pocket holster is, well, it's a little bit, for a J-frame, it's actually a little bit thicker. You kind of mentioned that when you said having a nice thin semi-auto in your pocket. So I do know people that, well, we all carried 380s back in the day when the P3AT was the new hotness. Like everybody had a
P3AT.
Yep, everybody had one in their pocket. So I really liked them. I still like them. It's just that other things came along that were more aerodynamic, like the Ruger or whatever. And some would say, just better quality guns have come out over years or whatever. But anyway, so being in J-frame, I carry a Ruger, which is essentially the same thing. You got that cylinder, and the cylinder's fat, so it is a little bit more bulgy in your pocket than other things. But dudes have regular size pockets, so it fits in there. Anyway, I think the disadvantages are, obviously drawing, and I guess depending on where you're sitting or how you're sitting, like it can be pinned from you. Like if you were crouched down, like if I was squatting or something, it would be really hard to get a gun out. But okay, maybe a shoulder holster, you'd be able to get a gun out squatting. You know what I mean? Like that's not like, oh, well, that's the situation we're all in. We're squatting and then we get attacked. So, the where it's vulnerable or where it doesn't work so well, I don't think are the biggest issues. And, well, that's about it. I guess what I was going to say is what I use is a holster that has a Kydex interior and then like a suede outside, and it's made by Safariland. It was made back in the day for cops because Safariland pretty much caters to police sectors and security and that kind of stuff. And I'm guessing not too many security carried a gun in their pocket, but I'm guessing that back in the day, cops would carry a backup in their pocket. So if somebody grabs your gun, something happens to your gun, you need a backup. A Smith & Wesson J-frame in your pocket was, I don't want to say universal, but I would say it's a very popular option. So this was to accommodate that or to deal with that. And it's a, I don't know what to call that, I guess a hybrid. Anyway, there's no retention other than once it's been in your pocket for a while, your pocket will smush it to, kind of like a Kydex in a heater, just existing over time. It will, like a leather holster, it'll conform. And so you can't like take it out and hold it upside down. It'll fall right out. But what it mainly does is keep the trigger from being exposed, and it keeps it oriented in your pocket. It also gives you one thing to pull out that isn't necessarily just pulling a gun out of your pocket. So if you do gotta take it out and somebody happens to be looking, it's not just a raw gun coming out of your pocket. Some people can't deal with that. But anyway, that's my 2 cents, is that it's, I don't know what the question was. Maybe if they were looking for a specific brand. So what did you say? You did like the brand or you did not like the brand?
What brand? The Daria holster?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was using it outside. It was a clip-on holster for your belt, and I was using it incorrectly as a pocket holster temporarily.
Okay.
So I think it's really good for what it is. And they don't have an SR22 holster. So what I was using was a holster for Smith & Wesson M&P with a 4.5-inch barrel. So I'm not even using the correct holster. And I think it's good for what it is. That's the holster I actually compete with. And it doesn't hang up at all. You can adjust the tension on it. So I have it cranked all the way down. So it holds the thinner, smaller gun well enough to have the fire from, use it inside the waistband, appendix carry. Because the range I go to and I compete in, they trust me enough to draw from appendix. I mean, I've taken tactical classes that way. So when they were like, hey, we're going to check you out, make sure you can draw without, muzzling everyone on the line. They're like, yeah, okay, you can do it. No problem. So, nope, the Dara holster works fine. Do I recommend it? Hey, if you want to check it out, check it out. I don't think it's bad. My regular, and that was the question. What I use as a big dude that carries appendix, because some people actually ask that because they have difficulty. I use the Fat Tack holster. Fat Tack is formed by a friend of mine, Josh, over at Black Diamond Guns and Gear, I think is his YouTube channel, but he designed his own holster for a bigger dude, and it works well. He's since lost a significant amount of weight, but even at my highest, which is near 500 pounds at 6'2", I was able to carry it.
What does it
carry
do
it.
to like be for a fat dude? What does it do?
It's deeper. All right, so I carry a Glock 19, and carrying a Glock 19 in a regular inside the waistband appendix carry holster, it rides so high that the belly pushes the gun itself out.
Yeah, it's like, I get you understand. It's like poking out of your pants all the time.
Yeah, it's too high. So this it rides significantly deeper. So when I do the draw, my master grip is not complete. So I get my first, 3 fingers around it, and then I put my thumb over the rear sight as I draw. So my master grip doesn't get put on until after I get it up over my belt. And it didn't take long to practice that and get it right. But the gun doesn't pop out. I had it pop out walking up the steps one day. And I'm like, boom, gun just hits the stairs. Luckily, I was at home when it happened. And I'm like, I need to get something else. And I don't know if I complained about it on air or something, but Josh reached out to me and said, hey, I got something. And I was like, I'll try it. And it worked. So that's my suggestion to every big dude. Matter of fact, Patrick Collins just reached out to me from Gun Food. And he said, hey, what's that holster you were talking about? You're always talking about. So that was just last weekend that I recommended it to someone again. So it works. Try it out if you're a bigger guy, and then worry about it. And no, he doesn't pay me or anything. And he gave me at the first goals, he gave me his personal one. He worked with another company before, and I think it was like 6 years ago he gave me one. That was it. Nothing, no deal, no anything. It was a product that works, and as a bigger dude, sometimes we need people to point out products that actually work for us without, being a shill. If we can find someone to make tactical clothing, if they can find someone to make tactical clothing for a bigger dude, that'll be cool too.
Has anyone ever done that? Not really. A couple of places will go. Well, they will, because in the military there's fat generals and stuff. So, like, the companies that make clothes for the military do make them like 5X or something.
Yeah, and that's fine, but it's like, because when you get to be the bigger dude, it's limited the number of manufacturers that make something over a certain size. Once you get past 5X, it's like, what's the return on investment? Or, how many sheep do you have to shear to make a sweater for this guy? As that dude, you know what I mean? As that guy that has the waist that's over 6 feet in circumference. Because that was funny. Happened one day doing pat down. One of the sergeants at work was busting my chops because I took my belt off, and he's like, hey, that belt's taller than me. And I was like, yeah, it is. And I would be insulted. And then I just held up my belt next to him, but I'm never insulted by anybody shorter than my belt. But yeah, you get to a certain size, and there's not going to be clothing for you that will hold up to running it in a class or running it long term. It's just not happening. Because people assume, I guess, if you're a big dude, you don't do anything. You just sit on the couch and wallow in Dorito dust. I'm like, no, I'm actually doing things. I'm actually in a class, and I'd like to be able to have more than just my 2 pockets, even if it's, what do you call those things? Carpenter pants. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Like Dickies or Carhartt.
Mm-hmm. Carhartt and Dickies, and that's what I end up running. You know what's tough clothing? Yeah, actual work clothing. And if you say Timberland, punch yourself in the face. But actual work clothes are tough gear. So they hold up. And I'm not trying to be a tactical Timmy. I don't want $300 pair of pants. And yeah, They hope that company has great SHOT Show parties, but when it comes to clothing, I'm not dropping that kind of money for it.
Now that being said,
I ain't
I've got some Odd
Go ahead.
Gear stuff, and they had. I was looking at their shirts because I wanted. You've seen the, you know what I'm talking about? Odd Gear, OTTE, or no, yeah, OTTE. They do some stuff that like Pat. You know the Bauer Idman. He was a guy who made patches and some other stuff. He's like an artist. He did some patches that were cool back in the day, and then he came up with a couple of patterns. And this company called Odd Gear does clothing and stuff with his patterns. And the pattern is sort of like, it's not really a Hawaiian shirt, but it's kind of, kind of like a Hawaiian shirt in a way. It's definitely a shirt like a Hawaiian shirt, like a shirt with a button-down shirt, I guess. But the pattern is a floral pattern, so a little less gaudy, I guess, but maybe like 80% of a Hawaiian shirt, but just a more subtle pattern from like more of like a shirt from like the 1930s, I think, or like World War II maybe. But anyway, sort of just a patterned shirt that has like flowers. One of them has like opium poppies, and then the other ones are like bamboo. So the ones are like a Vietnam pattern, and they're subtly, I don't think they're tiger stripe, but they've got like a, I should probably just show them on the screen here. But anyway, they have guns in the pattern. So the Vietnam ones have like M60s and RPKs, and then the Poppy one has AKs and M16s and saws and stuff. So it's just sort of a neat shirt that subtly has these gun patterns or gun silhouettes in the patterns. But it's not like obvious. There's a whole bunch of Hawaiian shirts that have gun patterns in them. It's just one
OG pattern shades.
So anyway, but they had I like wearing these shirts. I live in their sun, and I got to worry about getting skin cancer at some point because I'm getting old and all that. So I like wearing long sleeve shirts, and they have these long sleeve shirts in these patterns. So anyway, I went to go buy one of these shirts, and they had pants that were $145 pants, or maybe $150 pants or something like that, for $40 because they're closing them out. And I'm like, oh, I'm definitely buying these. Like, they're over pants, I guess. Like, you have pants on, and then you put these on, and you don't get wet. So like if you're going to go ride horses or ATV or something like that, maybe you'd put them on. So they're like rain pants. But I'm cheap, and for $150 pants for $40, it's worth me trying them out. Anyway, they're super good. That's all I'm getting at. Like, I could totally see if I needed something like that. I don't, I just bought them because they're $40. But if I was younger and I was doing something for a living where I needed some rugged pants, like these are definitely, I could see that they cost. I mean, I can see that they're engineered more than a regular pair of pants. That's all I'm getting at.
I'm on that.
And I would never know that
right now
until I bought them, and I would have never bought $140 pants. I don't care how much money I'm making. But anyway, they are neat, and it is neat to have their pattern or whatever. I mean, they're well made, I guess I should say. Their shirts are like $40, so they're, I don't know. I could probably get a super cheap version of this shirt for $10. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it's not like breaking the bank. And it's supporting a company that supports our troops. Blah blah blah. Actually, I think they do camping and stuff more than troops, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I met the guys over at Retro Shirts. I think Retro.
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. Yeah.
Yeah. And
those are definitely more Hawaiian shirts, though. And theirs are made out of like bamboo, I think. The real Hawaiian shirts made out of bamboo. Yeah, much cooler material, like physically cooler, like it is a cooler material, but then it's also cooler. It's a more interesting material because it doesn't wrinkle. So Hawaiian shirts always look good, even if you wad them up in a bag or whatever and take them camping and stuff.
Yeah, the material is pretty cool. I actually like them. Because you see me in them every now and again. I have a lot of them because they were on sale. They go on sale seasonally.
Yeah.
And I'm always hot, so wearing a Hawaiian shirt is fine to me. Under a sweatshirt, I'm good. And it makes me stand out a little bit at my shoots. So when we take the photos, the guy in the Hawaiian shirt, or the guy in the loud color shirt, or the guy big as hell, either of them, it's a description of me when people want to talk to me, see me, or who is Tony. when they're pointing stuff out on the website. Because a lot of what I do is, hey, he's a guy like us. Oh, he's our age. Oh, he's our race. Oh, he's our whatever. And it just makes it easier for me to be, who I am to people who've never met me or seen me. But I really wanted to. I actually talked to Cry about coming up with some clothes. I even went and talked to 511 about it, and no one seems to be interested.
No, like you say, it's a money thing, and they probably want to
Yeah.
just be cool. Like, oh, we don't want fat people driving around in our cool clothes.
Yep. It's really about image.
There's
I
met him like 2-3 years ago. I think 3 years ago now. Now that I'm thinking about it, but a company that makes, we probably talked about it, that makes shirts for shooters, like competition shooters. So like when you see a competition shooter and they've got like all their brands mentioned on their shirt. So it's almost the same kind of shirt I'm wearing. I think they call them rash guards for martial arts, but like a stretchy material. I don't know what the material is, but it's like not nylon, but like whatever stretchy material. And then they can print on them like all over the place. Like then pretty much print whatever you want, however you want on them. I have no idea how they're even created anymore. If they make them as white and then they print, or if they make them, like print the material and then sew the shirt out of it. Like I have no idea how they do it, but whatever it is, they went up to, I want to say something crazy, like 11x or something. Like I don't even know. I've never heard of the numbers they went up to. That was kind of a one-trick pony, or whatever you want to say. Like it was just shooting shirts, but at least they were aware that shooters are not all tiny.
Yeah, well, they actually catering to shooters and not a specific genre of people that'll pay for $300 tactical pants like they're going to be deployed the next day. Because that's the whole image that the tactical clothing companies are trying to portray. You even train, brah? Do you work out, brah? Yeah, that's great, dude. Yeah, my guy is overweight. He's 80-something years old. He's not going to go put on a rucksack and go run with whatever the dude's name that brings in the boats, David Goggins. Yeah, no, he's not going to do that. But he'd like to be able to take a class and have some pants that hold up. I mean, that's how I felt. So I was able to bring some work clothes and just run my stuff. And do I have other tactical gear? Yeah, but it's silly. I'm running the rifle class, for real. This is how I carry my stuff. This is how I'm at the house. This is how I ran stuff out of my home. Like, when are you putting this on? When you hear a bump in the night? Before you go outside the door, we have an 80s freaking tactical dressing montage in your room. You hear zippers and connectors click, click, zzz, zzz. You listen to your nods rise up. Okay, cool. Now let me go and see that the trash panda's knocked over the trash can outside.
Dave's joining us. Welcome. I guess that was a bit ago. So nobody's asking any questions this week. Maybe we've spent too much time not chatting and not answering questions that people forget the point. But that was sort of the original point of the show, is to get together and answer questions from the not necessarily, or from the point of view of someone who's not, has no skin in the game. Like, we don't care if you buy nothing or not. I don't want to say I don't want people to buy stuff, because I'm not that way. I like the idea of collecting. I enjoy, even if people are collecting things that I don't collect, I enjoy listening to collectors talk about their interests. So I'm not going to do that. Now, I am less of a buy it just because you got nothing else to do. I've done that. I've lived that life, and that's my advice, is like, just, it's not a practical way. There's more effective ways to grow a cool collection, or like an interesting collection of things, than buying stuff because it's in front of you, or buying stuff because it's suggested by somebody who gets a cut when you buy it. And if you're about to buy something anyway, who cares? Give your friend a cut. That's great. I mean, that's the way capitalism works. However, I draw the line where, like, you've got disposable income, I guess. You got some money to spend for some reason, but don't just spend it, because I really think, now that I'm older, I guess, depending on how old you are, I really think that there's value, or what's the word? I think value is the right word, right? I think literally the right word, in not buying something immediately. Or so often when I was a kid, I would go, I'm going to save up for XYZ, go to the store, see something totally different that I could afford, and then I'll just start over saving for XYZ because I still want it, but I'm going to buy this thing now. And, you never get the moral of the story is, right, you never get XYZ because you keep stopping along the way and spending all your resources. And easier said than done, but whatever. I don't know, maybe you got different advice, but I think if I could go back and tell my own self stuff, like, hold off, don't buy some of the stuff just because, and wait a minute and buy some of that better stuff when you're younger and enjoy it. Because some of the stuff that I bought when I was maybe 30, I'm thinking of stuff like a nice pocket knife, a good flashlight instead of the dollar one from the import store. And my friend, I think, one time said, and this is a great example, I think, of it. I forget how old we were, but much younger, 20 years ago, my friend was justifying buying his first Surefire knife, which was a pretty expensive knife back then, $300 knife or something. And we're all buying $70 knives and, debating whether or not it's worth the $70, right? And he said something like, I'm an adult, I haven't lost a knife in forever, and I want this. Like, I'm sick of having a cheap knife in my pocket, and living my life with a cheap knife in my pocket. And I was like, snap, I never thought about that, because I like to be cheap and stuff. But yeah, you're allowed to every once in a while go, yeah, I can be cheap and stuff, but I don't have to be cheap with everything all the time. And I don't feel like being cheap with this. And I guess you could say cheating yourself or something, but I think it's more than that, because some things are just better. Some things cost more because they're better. And I'm trying to think of, like, just some junk things, like tools. Like, I remember just spending too much of my life with tools that crap out on me. If I would just bought decent tools younger, I still have the crap tools. I nurse the crap tools along. It's just that now I also have nice tools. And when I go to do something, I grab the nice tools and just get it done. And, it's hard to know. You have to learn those lessons, I guess. But anyway, so that's where I stopped short of, like, don't just buy stuff because it's in front of you, or buy stuff because you can. Every once in a while, be discriminating or whatever word it is, and, like, think about the long game, and, like, what would you 10 years from now rather have?
So the whole buy once, cry once thing means something to a point. To a point. So do you have money for the buy once, cry once? How much is that buy once, cry once? Like, are you just getting
That's
into
what I
this
say. It's like, you
thing?
got to make the decision to save for some stuff when you're young. I just never did. I hardly ever did.
And oh yeah, definitely. Because my whole thing was I wanted to come into the firearms, right? My first handgun. I just got out the Corps, so I had my paychecks from the Corps that I saved up, and I hadn't got a job yet because I wasn't planning on it. I definitely took 3 months off between the military and my job to decompress, and I thought it would take that 3 months to become a civilian again and have the civilian mentality, because it took 3 months to become a Marine. No, man, it took 6 years to become a Marine that you are. 3 months just to break you out of civilian habits. So no, 3 months was not long enough to get me back to where I was. But I was like, I won in 1911. So I walked in Southern Gun World in Richmond, Virginia, and they had a 1911 there, and I just bought it. I just purchased it. No deeper thought to anything except I wanted a 1911. And now, if I could go back and talk to him, uh, Tony, as he was EASing, I'd be like, hey, bro, take a minute, save up some dough. And what we're going to do is we're going to get us either Wilson Combat CQB, because this was in, the early 90s when they were new, or even at that time, the Springfield Armory TRP. Like, if we're going to do this, we're going to get a feature-rich, not the GI, but a feature-rich 1911. It costs a little bit more than the average gun, but it's really going to be buy once, cry once. It's going to have sights. It's going to have the dovetail, so it's not, you're not getting the hammer bite. that made my first 1911 experience a negative. Like, it was really a negative. It was continually biting my hand until I still have the scar tissue on my hand from where that hammer bite was happening. Not cool. So yeah, buy once, cry once when it comes time, but you also have to have enough knowledge to know what to buy and not fall for the okie doke, because that was one of the things that people fall for too. I'm going to get this because of the name. Well, does it hold up? Is it worthwhile? Or is it a flash in the pan that's going to disappear and have no support? Because there are a lot of people turned on now, name names. It's not like I'm pooping on the product. They went out of business. Dang. H9.
Well, the thing
That's
is,
an H9. The Hudson H9 was
time,
like. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I was just to say, with time, you get the experience of watching friends, anyone really, have their experience with different companies and stuff. So sometimes, as a young kid, you're going to go, have an opinion, I guess. And then even if you never bought a 1911, let's say, but you just live life for however long and meet or whatever, know so many people that own 1911s, you're going to get some experience with 1911s after all that, I guess. Is what I'm saying.
Also,
I'm just going to add that.
Yeah. Also, when it comes to it, because I'm looking at what Dave talked about, I'd rather rebuild than buy new. If we're talking about firearms themselves, though, buying used is not a bad thing. Like, very few people shoot a gun out that you find in a gun store. You very rarely find a clapped out 1911, even the expensive 1911. You're not going to find one that's been shot out unless you're buying like competition type pistols, from somebody that runs 15, 20,000 rounds through a gun a year. So yeah, buying.
I think that's pretty much the same with everything too. I mean, I really like buying used, letting somebody else kill the depreciation. Every once in a while, I get the hankering to buy something new, and then I have bought some new things. And other than getting it sooner sometimes, because like, let's say, I don't know, a new telephone or something, like, it'd be great to buy an iPhone 17 used, but they don't exist yet. We have to wait for people to actually get sick of them. But most things, if I can help it, I'm going to buy it used.
Yeah, and some people don't want to do that, or don't know that's an option, or it's a lot of things out there. And I try to go, hey guys, don't get caught up, like you were saying, don't get caught up in other people's deals. Yeah, they have a deal with this company to promote this product, and next year they'll have another. Oh, excuse me. In 3 months they'll have another one that they do. And I know the guy. I like the guy, but I'll go ahead and put it out there. I name names. Sorry. Coleon Noir going on about how he liked the Ruger Max 9, and every now and again he'll have the Ruger thing, and I'm like, you do understand that Coleon Noir is getting paid by Ruger to say this. I'm like, watch his videos and see what he really likes when he's really excited, when he's shooting the snot out of it, and you see it in more than one video. That's kind of the hint of what he really likes.
Yeah, when the video isn't about the gun, but it's about where they're going this weekend. What gun are you carrying?
Yeah. When he has I'm having fun shooting this, that's what he likes. If he's not being sponsored by the company, and I'm not even saying, hey, he's a bad guy for advertising. No, just be aware of what you're watching. Some suggestions aren't really suggestions. It's a commercial.
Well, and like I say, I hesitate to say, like, never buy nothing, because, well, one, you want to enjoy yourself, and that's what money's for, or whatever, is buying stuff. But you can't know what you don't know, and you can't learn some things without being burned. Is that the way to say it? Did I just make something up? Maybe somebody else said that and I'm just saying it. But you know what I mean? Like, you can watch other people fall for something over and over. It doesn't make you street smart. You know what I mean? Like, you're just an observer. You got to get burned to get street smart, in my opinion. Or win. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be in danger. At least you have to have skin in the game. You have to have done then, you know, you can't just observe and still, you know, I guess what I'm saying.
Well, the lessons you pay for in blood stick around longer than the ones
There you
you
go.
observed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Otherwise,
that. I
they would
saw
just
that
have
guy.
you observe basic training, right? Here, watch a bunch of people doing calisthenics or whatever. Watch a bunch of people learning stuff. Okay, go apply those skills. Doesn't happen that way. You got to go do everything over and over and over and
Yeah,
over.
you got to go do it, but you can learn from other people's mistakes. And you don't have to learn every new mistake. Like Margaret Thatcher says, nobody has time to learn every mistake in the world brand new. You should learn from others.
Yep.
And it is true that you can. But you'll always, dude, you're going to find something that nobody else did, or you didn't pay attention, or you bought it first because it was a deal. One of the harder things to do is not impulse buy something when you have the money in your pocket and you're waiting for something else. And you go, you know what? This is a cool deal, though. Look at the price I got on this one.
Yep.
Well, sometimes it's not really a cool deal because it wasn't what you wanted. But now you're $200, $300, $400 short of that goal you set because you found a very good used fill in the blank that's almost as good as what you wanted. It's 90% of what you wanted. Yeah, but it's not what you wanted. So you still want the thing you wanted, and it's not 100% what you wanted. I'm trying to think of what I want a good 1911. And I mean, for me personally, if I had a personal gun, because my guns, they serve double duty and diversity shoot stuff. You know, I mean, that's just it. And that's just the way it is. But I think a solid a fighting 1911, even at 45, is cool to me. Something I really like a classic one. I think that, not JSOC. I like the JSOC, but I like the Mew pistol that TSOS had. The Marine Expeditionary MUSOC pistol that they made. I like that for what it was because it was something they had when I was in. It's not because it's just the best super tactical whatever. It was just the 1911 the Corps had when I was in the Corps. And I think it'll be cool. Like I already have the AR that they had. And I'd like that. Fun thing, doesn't beat you up too bad. You can change up the load because I don't have to shoot 230 grain, 45 ACP loads like I'm in the military. Because I'm not. I'm just having fun at the range, poking holes in paper. I'm not fighting off the Taliban, regardless of what every news influencer is trying to push online right now. There've been attacks all across America. Please don't fall for that stuff.
Dude, no, it's Iran.
Yeah. This has never happened before. It's happened since 1979 with Iran in particular. It's what happens when you don't pay attention to history. You're seeing everything for the first time. I posted it up. I don't know if you saw it on X. I'm like, yeah, there have been sleeper cells of terrorists in America forever. The first 1911, the first attack on the World Trade Center in 93 was sleeper agents.
Yep.
The second one was sleeper agents. They were living here in Jersey and New York City. They're here. People that hate America live in America. Some will do things. They're making money. I mean, truthfully, most of them are making money and sending them back to where they come from, or laundering money, or here spying, or doing a lot of other things. It's happening. That's what's going on. It's just a way of life. And both parties know this. That's why when they say stuff about illegal immigration, understand that's one of the problems with people sneaking into your country. You don't know who snuck into your country. And they can come in on student visas, just like the dude did the ODU attack last week. And then when he gets convicted of assisting terrorists, they don't have him serve his whole sentence in prison. And they didn't deport him. So who are you going to put this on? Is there a particular party? Was it the justice system or what? No, you can do whatever you want, but as a person, this is how you prepare. Be aware of what's around you and take notice like you do for any other violent criminal, because that's all terrorism is. It's a violent crime. The motivation is different, but what it actually is, violent crime. So watch for it just like you do for carjackers and
Honestly,
school
yeah.
shooters or whatever.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
I think it's you're right. It is, just I'm gonna say just it, but it in fact is another version of something that people have dealt with. So I was gonna say it actually could be even easier, only because it's more than likely going to be somebody that's out of place in the circumstances
Mhm.
or whatever. Unlike, I don't know, like domestic abuser or something, which is the opposite,
Yeah.
right?
It's domestic abuser. It's the guy who is
You
at
can't
that gas
tell.
station all the time. Yeah, it's all look, it's a violent crime. The political motivation is one thing and the blame and the finger pointing, but to you that's in that room at that time the attack happens, it's just another violent criminal. May have partners. Outside of that, and truthfully, that's what's going on now anyway in the criminal enterprise world. It's multiple attackers. So be aware. It might not just be one person. And again, it's just a violent attack. Your reaction should be the same. The politics shouldn't matter. Their motivation doesn't matter. So carry your firearm, get some training, carry medical, get some training. And even without a kit on you, because I'm sorry, but I don't carry one. I have a tourniquet in my bag, but my bag is usually in my car. And I don't carry one outside. I have an emergency kit in my car. I have an emergency tourniquet in my bag. But the knowledge of how to stop the bleeding, treat for shock, that's better than having equipment and not knowing how to use it. Get training, be aware. Don't let other people hype you up because they want to get clicks and what do you call engagement online. Please don't fall for that. We've watched it happen over and over and over and over again.
I was watching something earlier. I think as I was setting this whole thing up, or maybe when you were restarting, I felt like saw this earlier today. But what do you feel about, or what are your thoughts on helmets?
Oh, the helmets for civilians?
Yeah, just a regular person buying a helmet.
Uh, I can't think of the
I don't know
purpose
if
of
you've
one
ever
if you're not.
thought about
Yeah,
it.
I can't think of the purpose of one. I really can't unless you're putting odds on it. Like, well, why do I have a helmet on? I mean, in the military, we had helmets on because, I mean, truthfully, most injuries came from artillery. That produced more injuries than direct gunfire. That's what helmets were used for back in the day, even though they were supposed to be able to take a round to the dome and deflect that. But it was really because of artillery, shrapnel, that
Yeah, I
kind
think
of
it's
thing.
mostly shrapnel, just because it's so heavy to create something that can be bulletproof.
Hmm.
I mean, unless they're misunderstanding everything, I think people that are buying helmets, kind of depends on the helmet, but I think most people are probably buying helmets, which we would call like a bump helmet. So like something
Yeah,
you're going to wear in like a boat or a helicopter, not because if you
yeah,
fall out of the helicopter, you're going to live because you had this helmet on, but because if you stand up and you're not familiar with a helicopter and you stand up right into like a pipe or some kind of a, you know, bolt or something, you don't jam it right into
yeah.
your head. It it bumps onto that helmet. And then they're kind of like a bike helmet, really. They're very lightweight.
Yep.
They look like a helmet,
Mhm.
but in reality, they're like a bike helmet. They're mostly foam with like some kind of a plastic or fiberglass shell. But like you're saying, most of the time people end up putting, well, they can't afford um, thermals or nods normally, so they'll end up putting
Hmm.
some kind of $100 version of one of those on there, which are heavier,
Yep.
less useful, but sometimes
Hmm.
people use them for that. I think they'll also use them for ear pro. So if you're going to be wearing ear pro all day and you don't want that thing like actually touching the top of your head, the strap part or whatever you call it on the ear pro. And some people will do the behind the ears thing or behind the head type of thing, but I think some
Hmm.
people would just rather put on a bump helmet and have their ear pro kind of in the helmet or on the helmet, only because then it's just more comfortable for like a day. But at the same
Yeah.
time, if you're on the range or something, like when what were we at? We were just shooting the other day and somebody was shooting at a piece of steel. They didn't realize that it wasn't it was a handgun steel, and they were shooting a rifle at it, and the result was a piece of copper jacket came flying back and hit somebody, and I guess potentially any kind of weird shit, thing hitting a rock or something unexpectedly can shoot a rock piece flying. So you have like that potential, right, of like having a helmet on, just to same kind of thing, like if you're in a helicopter or a boat, except if you're just walking around, just in case something came flying out of nowhere. Kind of what's the word, like third level of redundancy, because most people don't have nothing falling on them. But then I guess the other option would be if you intend to do something where you're going to need a helmet and you want to get your training in or get familiar with the helmet from that. But, I don't know what that would be, other than like you have a house that has low doorways or something, and you want to, again, just not be concerned that if in an emergency you're going to hit your head and damage your own self because you're stressed out or not paying attention. Like I say, I can imagine somebody's got like an old house where they had like small doorways or like a little thing in one of those basement doorways that are little. I guess I could see somebody wanting to put on like a bike helmet. Oh, and the other thing is putting lights on them. So you've got a helmet on and it could have a lighter, just an LED light type of thing attached, or even like a weapons light type of size, basically a flashlight. That's not my style, but I could see someone thinking, oh, you know what? I want to carry a light around. I don't want a headlamp, but if I had a helmet on, I could put a lamp on it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the right answer or not. I was just curious if you thought about it or if you had an opinion.
I don't feel it's necessary unless you have a purpose. I'm not going to tell you your kit's not complete unless you have a bump helmet. No, I'm not going to do that. I have friends that have helmets on because they have night vision. Also, they like LARPing. and that's fine. That's just as legit as anything else, but I don't feel it's necessary as a civilian to have a helmet. There's lots of other things you can do. Get some training before you buy a helmet. I really think that's something, and people go, oh, why do you always say training? Because you don't know what you don't know. And many people go to the range alone and don't know what the professional standards of even time, marksmanship, distance, none of that stuff. They don't know it. And I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, because people love acting like, because you have some knowledge of one particular thing, you think you're better than them. No, I just know this. I just know this. Taking training is better than never having to take training and just assuming. So get some training, find out what you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. And then all of a sudden you'll discover, heck yeah, I didn't need more gear. I need more trigger time, because I'm only shooting this rifle out to pistol distances. You know what I mean? It's like I've never stretched it out to 200 yards. I don't know the skills it takes. I haven't shot at any position other than just standing square up at the range. And I want to prepare for other things. Then you got to put in the time. You don't have to train 7 times a year, but once. Take a handgun course, take a carbine course. If you're using shotgun, take a shotgun course. Yeah, you can do that. You can take an introductory course and then take the next level up to move and shoot and do different things, and even get a low light class. And that's usually second or third class someone takes with a handgun or a rifle. They'll do a low light class. That's not a lot of classes. That's one class a year, or maybe even 2. You get 2 in 1 year and then take the third level the second year. And then the rest of it is just practicing what you learned, and maybe do a yearly renewal in some discipline, or even shoot competition and make it fun and shoot with the gear that you have. There's ways to do this, but get some education first before you worry about buying gear, because you want to get and also when you have the classes, when you go to classes, you'll meet people and they can warn you away from bad gear. They can tell you what worked for them, so you're not wasting your time and your money. There's opportunity out there to do this. And since people are calling for it and using their little panic voices now that, oh, America's going to have drone attacks and sleeper cells, and there've been 3 terrorist attacks, pretty weak ones, by the way, terrorist attacks this week alone. Yeah, they have been. Be aware, carry, but don't panic.
We haven't talked about, I guess, I don't remember last time we talked about training, but I'm going to give it my, whatever relationship with it, I guess. So
Mhm.
I think I've probably mentioned on this show, but I've mentioned other shows. I grew up and I had like Civil Air Patrol Scouts and things like that, where you have some like structured, like formal training that has been handed down. It probably gets changed every once in a while, but for the most part, it's they figured out what works for kids and what we need to know before we get older and stuff. And they kind of give you an introduction to a lot of stuff. So I understood training, and just like any kid, or like anyone probably, you're resistant to training because it seems boring and you don't know, like you said, you don't know what you don't know, and since you don't know the result, what you're going to gain from it, it's just difficult to talk somebody into it until you've done it a few times. And then after you get experience with it, you start to understand the process, and obviously school deadens us to it. But so anyway, I think I started off with firearms training thinking it was for cops and for maybe military, but after being in the military, that when people say that, most of the time people saying this shit have never been in the military, don't realize that like everything's compartmentalized. And like if you say it's in the military, it could mean 12 people, it could mean 1,200 people, it could mean everybody in the military or anything in between any of that. So really doesn't mean much to say military training, because even if I'm thinking of some elite awesome military training, that has nothing to do with what somebody else is thinking of, like bland, boring most of the military training nobody ever tells you about is sixth grade education, like what, right? Like it's made for sixth graders, so most of it is just mind-numbingly boring all the time. And it's because you don't do anything all that. I mean, I guess when you get into computers or something, or like helicopter repair, right, you have to get a little bit more basic or advanced, but for the most part, like most of the junk we're going to learn in the military is like they dumb it down to sixth grade level, mainly because our mammalian brains or whatever under stress, we're not going to be better than that. So they don't expect more. It's not like they have unrealistic expectations. They just know their deal, that this is best for training people, because we don't need to be experts on everything. We just need to know how to do stuff sometimes out of reflex. Anyway, that being said, that was my experience.
Yeah.
So my experience is sort of like, one step away from like, just do it. It actually pretty much was a lot of times, just do it. Don't worry about why, just do it. We told you to, that's why. So whenever I first got into guns again, I call it guns again because I was not really paying attention to guns for a number of years after the military. It's not like I jumped out of the military and started shooting guns or nothing. I had, other things to do growing up or whatever. But basically I think it all started when I became a manager of a restaurant, and then they just gave me an assistant manager one day, and I like a new assistant manager, and I'm like, oh, you're the assistant, or you're my assistant? Okay, great. We're introducing each other, and I think it took us like 5 minutes to figure out that we both go shooting, or that we both like hunting or something. So we're like, all right, long story short, we became real good friends and started going hunting and shooting all the time. And that's where I was like, oh yeah, I know all about hunting and shooting. I grew up doing this. So did he. But at the time, this was just like the 90s, early 90s, late 90s. It was just a different world. Then the internet started about 5 minutes later. And it took me a minute to get my bearings on the internet in the early 2000s. But as soon as I did, I went straight to guns. So I was pretty much the gun side of the internet from the beginning of my time on the internet, which was 5 minutes after the internet started, it feels like now. But so anyway, then training was a little bit different. I was, what's the word? Like exposed to training inadvertently, because I was like, what's going on at the range? Why are you shooting guns out of cars at the shooting range? Like, what's all that about? Like, how do I get in on that? Right. And then it's like, oh, that's training. You have to talk to the people at Tactical Response out of Tennessee. I'm like, out of Tennessee? This is Tucson. What are we talking about here? And then I started to figure out, like, what's going on. And at some point, I never got like, there wasn't a thing back then to be like approached by a training company and say like, hey, help us. It was more like, oh, you're doing training? Do you mind if I watch? Like, and at first it was like, no. And then they were like, oh, okay, I guess. And then I got to watch a lot of different kind of training and stuff. So as I became familiar with it, or like experienced with what it was, the internet started to get more easy to use. So more people were using it. And the community of gun people on the internet just had a weird, I'm going to say weird, uneducated for sure, but like a weird relationship or like attitude towards firearms training. So for me at the beginning, like I'm talking like 2008 or something, I had been around quite a bit of training. Luckily, Tucson we have a good situation here. So we attracted a lot of good trainers out here, and I got to meet and hang out and experience a lot of their techniques or whatever. And being in the place where I was on the internet, listening and being around the community of people online, just bitch and rag about shooting or training. None of them, of course, ever even considered going to any kind of training ever. Like,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
no.
Like, they're never going to training, but they'll
Mhm.
bitch and moan about you even talking about it online. And this is like 10, 11, 12, right? And then at the same time that training exploded because the NRA, which had a lock on it, it wasn't like the NRA said, fuck everybody, I have a lock on it. No one did shit, and the NRA was the only one that ever picked up anything and did anything. So the NRA just did it. And then the internet happened, and then other companies came along and said, hey, the NRA shouldn't have the monopoly on this. We can do it too. You know, and then this narrative came along that like the NRA was like the evil owner of training, and that all these other companies were like the under, you know, the grassroots champions of like the underclass that like we're gonna challenge the NRA. In reality, the NRA was just falling apart. It was the only one that could ever even try or ever even did, because it was sort of tasked by the government back in the old days, right? And we were just coming out of that like, oh, we don't have to wait for the government to do it for us, we can do it ourselves. So anyway, as training was like all happening and everybody on the internet had all these like mirrored misconceptions, my only goal with training was to try to map it, to try to explain to people, like, you're saying training, that's like saying I don't like 9mm. Like, that's a dumbass thing to say. That's one of the reasons I always say it all the time, because it's like, it's just dumb. Like, what do you don't like the caliber? You don't like the actual bullet? You don't like one particular round? You don't like some gun? Like, just pick a more descriptive way of complaining about something. So when people would say I don't like training, you'd talk to them for like 5 minutes, and it turns out they don't like this trainer, or they don't like the idea of somebody carrying a gun concealed. Like, there were so many different things that turned into I don't like training, that it just became like a whole thing. Okay, so I'm explaining this. This is I was bored explaining it, but I was living my life and trying to be like, hey, maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe I can affect change in the world or something, or like, let these friends of mine understand that like there's a lot that they're missing a lot. Anyway, then time went on, and I decided, I've had successes, I've had failures in that realm. I got good friends that hate training. I've got good friends that hated training and went to training and now love training and now bother me because they love it so much. Like, they like it more than me. But at the same time, I'm old enough now that like, and then time has gone on. I don't know half these people anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Literally, some of the trainers are gone.
Yep.
So, and then the people that have come along are different, but not different, bad, different, new, different, just different, right? And I keep saying, like, the trainers that happened in 6 and 7 and that, they were all 100% military, coming from military, maybe from some police, but mostly military, because that's all people wanted. And most people, guess what? We're still going into the military. We had a 21-year global war on terror. So people are like, oh, you shouldn't cosplay military. Fuck you. They were going into the military. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a dad is allowed to go learn what his kid's going to learn so that he can teach his kid, or just know what his kid's going to learn. Or maybe the kid wants to go to class, because that happened. Anyway, people don't pay attention to that. But anyways, then, so I guess what I'm saying is I was kind of aware of training, and then I became aware of training. And then it was like, well, dang, everybody's misunderstanding training. Maybe I can do something about this. And then I was, like I said, maybe semi-successful doing that, not successful in other ways. And then at some point I'm like, okay, all that success and failure is now 10 years ago, 20 years ago in some cases. What does it even matter anymore? So at the same time, like, I'm not going to shit on training. I'm definitely not going to crap on it or whatever. But I hesitate to like, I'll encourage it, but I'm not going to like require it ever, or like force it down anybody's throat, because I know people that have spent their entire lives carrying a gun, never had to use it. And why would they ever have to go to training? It's ridiculous. On the other hand, some people go to training and then discover other things about guns that they never knew, and they would have never even got that if they didn't go to training. So I guess all this is being said, trying to say, here's my advice. Don't just go to one training. Like, I don't care what you'd choose. CCW training, marksmanship training, just some kind of cool training, first aid training, some kind of all around. But whatever it is you pick, go to another one, at least one other one, if not more. Because all I was going to really try to add here is that it's like music or art or something, like, because it's so different and so unique to the individual or the individual's experiences, that you might go to one that is valid training and everyone says it's valid training, but maybe you hate that instructor. You just do not like something about it. Maybe you're just having a fucking bad day, and it is awesome training, but you're just never going to experience it because you're having a bad day. Giving yourself understanding, like, okay, I'm going to go to at least 2 or 3 trainings before I'm done with this, gives you a chance to experience more than just the one. And then often for me at least, I would go to a class and be like, that was kind of shitty. Like, I didn't like that. Here's the reasons why. And I would tell my friends, and they go, okay. 2 or 3 months later, I'd go to 2 or 3 more classes, and I'd be like, oh, now I know, and that guy did that, and now I kind of respect that. Now I get it. Little things like, let's all eat lunch together. And at first I was like, I don't want to eat lunch here. Don't tell me where I'm going to eat lunch. And then later on I was like, wow, that's actually, I appreciate that, because there's instructors that are like, an hour for lunch, leave. I'll see you in an hour. And if you try talking to them in that hour, they're like, I'm not getting paid for this. Don't talk to me. I mean, they're not that bad, but it's that kind of range. So anyway, I think that training is one of those things that's changed so much. And because there's no rules, you're going to get people that know what they're talking about and don't, and everything in between. I would only offer the suggestion of take at least 3, 2 to 3 or more. And if you hate it, never take it again. But if you love it, you know what I mean? Now you've experienced a little bit. But for those people that just take one and walk away and act like they've seen it all, or think that I don't know, they don't act like, you know what I mean? They just, they don't think about all this stuff. And it all started from you saying you don't know what you don't know. And that's where I was getting, I was just thinking about, if anything I could offer to advice to a young person into guns is go take a bunch of different trainings as fast as you can. Almost doesn't matter what they're about, because what you're going to learn is what classes are like, what gun people are like, and what instructors and and the course curriculums are like. And so much, you can discover so much from that. But I'm thinking of, like, when I go to a Glock course, those are some of my funnest classes to go to. There's no shooting or nothing, but you're hanging out with a bunch of cops, mostly, sometimes gunsmiths, people that own gun stores, every once in a while, like a competitive shooter, but mostly people are there for almost for work, because most of the cops are there for, like, I don't know, they probably get like an extra $5 a paycheck or something if they're a Glock armor. So, it's just like, or maybe they can do it for free, so they just do it. But and then you got people that are like, oh, I run a gun shop, and now I'm going to be able to say I'm a Glock armor, and I'm 2 years in on this. And then there's, sitting next to the guy who's 25 years in, and this is the 7th Glock class he's gone to, because you have to do them like every so many years. But anyway, so those were just always some of the more interesting ones, because of the pace, I guess, because there's no competition. Sometimes you go to a class and you're just there to learn, but some other guy's there to, like, be the cock of the walk. Like, I'm gonna be faster than everybody, and he's just being a dick. Or, like, I've just seen people that are like, oh, every time they shoot. It's like, come on, man. Like, nobody's here to compete. We're here to learn from this guy and what you're shooting. Like, nobody's even paying attention to your score or nothing. But, like, they're over there freaking out or whatever, like if they're at a match.
I'm laughing because it's funny. Having taken training around the country with different people with different attitudes, the guy that shows up and is shooting and is kind of throwing a hissy fit, like he's in a competition with everybody else, reminds me of the guys that take off from every red light like they're racing the person next to them. I'm like, they weren't racing you, right? It's like, you can calm down, Mario and Andretti. They weren't racing you. Every red light wasn't an opportunity.
Like, if you get to that next light, then that's it. Then you're going to have the breakthrough. No more lights after that. If you just get to that light fast enough, it's not like there's another light another mile down.
Yeah, because I'm at the training to improve myself. Listen to what the instructor has to say, even if it counters what I've always done, right? Because I'm not there to reinforce myself. I'm there to learn a new way of doing something, run other drills that someone's got. Because that's the crazy part. Most people, human nature, only practice the things they're good at. And that's the metric they run to, and what they think is fast. But meanwhile, depends on what kind of training you get. Now, the cool thing about Train and Learn with Kevin Dixie is you have people from different disciplines. So I had Rob Pincus there. He was one of the trainers one year. And he is, defensive firearms training, Personal Defense Network. That's Rob Pincus. So the draws, the get off the X and put 3 to 5 rounds on target, or for defensive shooting. Well, the next, block of instruction was done by Dustin Bluth. And Dustin is a competition shooter, and it's how quickly can you get out of the holster and put a round on target. And then he's teaching you how to be more efficient with a draw and put a round on target. And then you go to a rifle guy who, at that particular time, we were shooting out to 150 yards with the rifle from just different positions, because he did kind of a sniper's course, or at least like a precision AR course, a patrol rifle course. So you're going to be shooting from behind cover. You're going to use a curb as cover. You're going to use the wheels of a vehicle as cover. So that's the difference between being completely prone and shooting left hand, right hand on your knees, like low cover, high cover. And that is an opportunity to take a class like that. And there are a few of those around the country you can take also. But the best bet is to start with your local and spend about $200 on a course, and you don't have to stay in a hotel. And you spend like $200, $250 for the course, 500 to 1,000 rounds of ammo, and you get an introduction to what's happening locally. And that's better than going, traveling out of state and having to pay for a hotel room, travel, and all of that for a 2-day class or a 3-day class. And you can do it at home over the weekend. And then from there, you can see if you want to go and check out somebody else's stuff. It's a great way to step into it without costing an arm and a leg, if that's the way you choose to do it. Because you don't want to slow a class down if you've never taken one, and the first class you took is, a 5-day course at Gunsight. You're just going to put yourself under a lot of pressure that doesn't have to happen. But yeah, total suggestion. Take training, learn what you don't know, do it the least expensive way, which is usually local trainers, and then see where you like it and don't like it. And don't be super loyal to a trainer. Like when I was training classes, I don't need you to only go to my classes. I'm like, no, I want you to go to multiple classes. Heck, I want you to get better than I am, because you taking classes, got bit by the bug, and you enjoy what you're doing. That's what Sean and I used to encourage people to do all the time, because we wanted to be the person you came to get the base, right? Learn how to run a gun, learn how to draw step by step from a holster in a safe manner. That's why I wanted you to learn it from us. And then you can speed up and you can do whatever the next trainer says, but I want you to be safe with a draw, safe at the range, not someone that someone has to keep an eye on. Because when you run the class, I don't know about you, but there's certain indications that people don't know what the hell they're doing just by the way they're handling their firearm behind the line. It's like, great, got to keep an eye on that guy. And that's something I pay attention to. And if you have good basics, that's all we were trying to teach, good basics. And now, run a gun. Be a good student.
Interesting. So most of the class, now that I'm talking about it and thinking about it, I guess I haven't thought about it in a while. You have to like blow the cobwebs off of that part of your brain or whatever. Just stuff you don't have to think about when you're young, right? Like that there can be like a 10-year chunk of memories that you don't even think about that often when you're old. Like I don't even think about when I'm a little baby, I guess, right? So there's 20-something years I don't think about ever. And then there's like another 10-year chunk that I'll forget about, here and there when I'm not thinking about stuff. Anyhow, whenever I'm thinking about that training and stuff, I never went to, I shouldn't say that. I did go to some CCW classes and I did value that. That was mainly because I forget when Arizona got CCW anymore, like 95 or something like that. But I didn't get mine until like 2000 or something. So whenever probably when I started doing gun stuff, and then I realized like, oh, you can do, like, I didn't know what you know what the laws were, I guess, back in the day, but there was no internet. So it's not like anybody's going to act like we all knew what all the laws were. Like we knew what most of the laws were, I guess, in general, but you know what I mean? Like we knew our laws from TV and movies, just as much as anything else. Cause it wasn't like there was some law book that you were required to read. There was never law school or class that you had to take. right? So how would you know if you're breaking laws back in the old days? So especially with gun stuff, I mean, you knew what a 4473 said on it, and you knew, I guess, some things. But as far as like putting a gun in your pocket and going somewhere, nobody. How would you know? Like, you know what I mean? I guess there wasn't signs and stuff. So anyway, I guess when I first started going to CCW classes, I was truly interested in just the variety of people who were taking CCW classes. Although, and then I guess also the variety of instruction, and I really valued that. Do you know Phil Wong by any chance? From Tucson?
From where?
He's in Tucson. He's done quite a number of things over the years, and I didn't know if you'd crossed paths or not, but he's just some guy that I met him like a billion years ago at some gun shop wherever he worked, I think. Or did that when I first met him? Or we met at school. We might have met at school or something. But anyway, I've known him forever. And then I'm like, oh, you're teaching CCW classes? Well, shit, let me take one of your CCW classes. Like, let me audit it or whatever. So, and he's just a, did I meet him in math class or something? He's just a precise dude. There's some people out there who are good at giving instruction. And I mean, you'd listen to him instruct you on how to make, like a pastry, or like how to do something in the backyard, or paint the house, just because they have a precise way. Masato Yuba is a great example of that. I don't know if the people have ever posted any of his course stuff, but when you watch some of his videos, he's just precise, and he says things enough time. He's practiced enough to, he's a good communicator, I guess is the way to say it. So essentially, when I first started going to CCW classes, I was just as impressed with the people and the classes and the instruction. And then again, since I had a little bit of attention on the internet, I was trying to share that with the rest of the internet, because not like yourself, where I come from, it was a state where you couldn't do nothing. You couldn't carry a gun, period, unless you knew carrying a gun there was a crime. So out here, I didn't know so much. But so I was sharing with some of my friends back east the way that it was out here. And then once I figured out that more than just my friends were looking at it, I was like, oh, well, here's what it's like in Arizona. So I've always just been like, here's what the training is like. Not so much like you should take it, right? Because honestly, I didn't care if people took training or not. But I think now that I'm thinking about it, except for those CCW classes, which, like I said, I was taking because, well, another reason is because my CCW class was literally the 16 hours. When I first started, it was a 16-hour course, which is a shit ton comparing. I think now it's like 4 hours if it's even a course, because we have constitutional carry. But 16 hours, and the guy was like, the state shouldn't require this. He was a true Second Amendment advocate, I think. But at the same time, people would freak out when they hear this. He would go, okay, we're going to be sitting here for 16 hours. He would spend like 2 hours telling you all the rules, because he did do that. But then he was like, what do you like? The planets? Cats? Like, what do you like? We're going to watch movies. And he would just sit there. It's like being in one of those driving schools where they're like, all right, we're just going to watch movies because you have to be here for 8 hours. So we're going to watch through movies, pick some movies to watch. So we did all kinds of stuff that had nothing to do with guns. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But at the same time, I totally get it. Like, I'm down. Like, this is this ridiculous requirement. 16 hours is ridiculous. So I could get the thumbing. And I didn't really know he was doing that. I didn't take his class because of that. But once I was there, I was like, okay, I get it. I'm down. But at the same time, I was like, I kind of like to see what it's like to see 16 hours of. I should have never said that. I was never interested in saying 16 hours. But later on in time, I was like, I'd like to see what other instructors do. And then I would audit their classes. So back then the classes were like 4 hours. I think it got down to like 4 hours or something, because there was no way I was there for 8 hours. Maybe I was. But anyway, it was just, once I started going to them, I was like, wow, these different, I mean, they're all the same instruction. Like, we're all coming out CCW holders. It's just that some people are getting like lectures for 8 hours, and some people like mine were like quick debrief and then just go wait out the clock, do what you want. And then somewhere in between for other people, like some attempt at offering like real instruction. And then some of them were like, you need to know what about carrying a gun, but what you really need to know is how to carry a gun. So they went immediately into like what some people would call like a defensive firearms class nowadays. But back in the day, in early 2000s, that didn't exist so much. So it was more of like just an in-depth CCW class that talked about theory or something. Maybe the guy went to a Masato Yuba class and just knew a lot more. and wanted to, share that with his students. And the thing is, you didn't even know that because these instructors didn't have the self-awareness to say, I'm the one who's like Masada Ayub, or I'm the one who lets you do what you want, or I'm the one who's going to give you rigid instruction. They were just like, we have CCW classes at this place on Wednesday. My CCW is $14. My CCW is at my house and it's $10. It was like, anyway, so I thought it was interesting to explore that. But I guess I was ranting here because what I was really getting at is, in contrast to that, all the gun training I went to was probably super expensive, high-end training that ran. I guess the reason I'm saying that, not to brag or whatever, just because I didn't pay for any of it. I went and audited all of it, almost all of it. It's just that your random person off the street who'd never shot a gun before wasn't paying $3,000 to show up for 4 days, shoot high-end shit, shoot thousands of rounds. So it was mostly doctors and software people that could afford to do it, and then whoever, somebody was getting paid to be there, like their agency or whoever sent them there. And that's kind of what the class was for. But all those doctors and software people made it possible. Like, even if like every Border Patrol guy, well, no, that wouldn't be the same. But if any Border Patrol who wanted to take it could take it, or any SWAT cop that wanted to take a class could take it, that still wouldn't fill the classes, because they just, as much Border Patrol and SWATs as there are. But if there's like 100 SWAT cops, probably 3 of them take classes. Like, just because they're in SWAT, that's just an extra paycheck for a lot of them. They don't give a shit more about guns. At least most of the SWAT cops that I've talked to say that that's what the rest of their SWAT team is like. Like, they're the guy who I know because they're at a class, but they're the one of 100 SWAT guys that show up at the class. I've never been to a class with more than 2 people or something from a department or from an agency. Unless you go to an actual Border Patrol class, then it's all Border Patrol or something. But that's totally different.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had, the Hispanic Officers Association put together a carry class, a law enforcement carry class, and they invited me, and I was able to actually take it. But that was the only class that dudes were doing it out of pocket, paying for it themselves, not their department. And they were all from one department. You know what I mean? That's highly unusual that a bunch of dudes in the department get together and say, hey, we're going to fund our own off-duty training. Nah, that doesn't happen. That's not
for a while there. I think that had to happen because you'd see, at least I could see, I don't know of an example, but I could see it theoretically where somebody went to a cool class and then told their friends at whatever their work, right? And then that department or agency or whatever sent a group over. And usually what'll happen is somebody cool just likes guns is some job, and then they'll go to experience an instructor. Like Mike Pannone is an excellent example. He's a really good instructor, and he's unique because he's really into being efficient with your body motion, like just because he's trained enough to know, like been through enough kinds of training to understand like what works out of training for people. Anyway, so he's just a really effective trainer, I think. And I could see somebody going to a class like that and going, this would be great for everybody. And then they won't take and send everybody to Mike Pannone's class. They'll send an instructor to Mike Pannone's class, and he'll learn what to teach. And then Mike knows that, and he'll teach that instructor, what he needs to know to teach it. So the one guy who likes guns goes to the class, the instructor goes to the class, and then everybody else learns from the instructor. That happens all the time. And I mean, it is what it is. It's how things happen, right? You send someone to a course or a upskill training or whatever, and they come back and upskill train everybody else. That's just, I mean, that's how it's always really been, I think, for a lot of things. So, like if they had to go learn how to do drones, they're not going to take everybody off the police force and go teach them drones. They're going to teach 1 or 2 guys how to do drones, and then for the next 6 months, those guys will teach everybody drones.
100%. And that's just the way it goes. It's funny to me because, again, people want to push back. Oh, I know, bro, you don't know what you don't know. Use the experience of these instructors, because any good instructor has a plethora of instructors he went to. So you're getting what he learned, what the dudes before him learned, what he learned from 10 different instructors, and he's broken down and put in his one class. So you're getting the benefit of that many years of that dude doing this thing. And you only took one class, but now this guy took every tactical response class, took Lethal Force Institute, or what does
MDFI or LFI, both same thing.
Yeah. He took all of Masada Ayub's classes. And now you're getting the benefit of all of that. It's not just some dudes teaching you how to shoot. He's bringing the experience of a lot of other instructors, if he's good, to your course and stuff he picked up and put together. And put together his gun fu based on the stuff he picked up at the other dojos. And
Dude, that's
that
all it
doesn't
is.
mean, yeah. And that doesn't mean he's the end all be all. No, because that's what he picked up. You could go to a classmate of his that was beside him in every one of the classes, and he picked up another different 10 to 15 to 20%. And you go to him and everything's almost the same, but some stuff isn't. You didn't even think of that because, well, he held on to it because it meant something else. I'm just saying, you get the benefit. You don't have to take 50 classes to get the benefit of 50 classes. You can take 5.
It's like the extra
benefit of
50 classes.
Yeah, exactly. Tony, why do you say it so much? Look. Oh, go ahead, man. Please.
Well, let me interrupt you, but I was just going to throw in that, like, when that instructor, like you're saying, experiences a bunch of different classes, especially if they're an instructor, then they come back and teach, right? And like you're saying, they're going to be influenced, or they're going to have a little flavor from all those different things that they learned. But I think that another piece of it that I wanted to interrupt you for is then they're having students. So now their whatever, like, experience level as an instructor with all this reference, their reference had grown, but then their experience with students comes into play. And now, okay, they have this huge library of stuff, but now they know that their students who want XYZ need this from him and this from that class and this from that class. And now they bring all that together, and the first class they figure out, oh, I brought too much of this in, let me remove that. And eventually they're going to have, based on their students and their teaching, they're going to have, like you say, like their gung fu or whatever is not just better, but like more better. Like, it's not just faster or quicker or something like that measurable, but it's actually more appropriate for the people. And then I'm thinking of military coming to civilian carry. Like, there's very little aside from like being safe and being smart about it and like whatever, but there's like rules of engagement and scenarios and stuff are just completely different. And then I guess rules of engagement is the same as like authority or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff is so different. And then military is almost always, not always, but almost always kind of, you're implying that the person is like top fitness, young and able, you know what I mean? Like, they're not injured. And in real life, you can be top fitness, young, but guess what? You get injured and you still carry a gun. So now you have to know how to fight as if you weren't 100%. And that's where military almost always just says you're 100% or else you're on sick leave. So we're only teaching you to work at 100%. But CCW, because some people just can't do push-ups because they can't, they're old or young or whatever, there's fat or something, they can't do push-ups, you only have strength in one arm or whatever. But the CCW instructor instructs all these people, so they take all this stuff from the library that is good to go for a cop or for a law enforcement or for the perfect scenario or for what USCCA says is right. They take all of that and then they apply it to their students over and over and over. And that's why I valued those CCW classes, because it was the same kind of thing. Here's what Arizona says you have to learn. Here's your experience in life. But now here's what you're like after being an instructor for a number of years, where you apply all this. And that's what makes you unique. And that's why your class is so interesting compared to, not like any of them were better or worse necessarily. Some of them were more, like I say, effective, and some of them were more fun, and some of them were whatever. But you know what I mean? They were all, anyway, that's where I'm getting at. Is I think that I just want to interrupt you that, like, I think the instructors today have something on like Masada Ayub. Masada Ayub has had a lot of class students, but he does do the same instruction. So it's like, you're going to learn Masada Ayub's songs and Masada Ayub's kung fu, so to speak. He's not, he does observe, I'm sure he has absorbed and he does absorb stuff, but because his stuff is so made for CCW holders at this point, there's not a lot to change. Like, people are changing after going to his class, but you know what I mean? Like, he's kind of got the kind of good middle of the road, I would say, like effective stuff. And he's talking about courts and stuff, and that stuff hasn't changed. But Again, I bet you going to his class, if I went to his class today, it would be different than the class I went to however many years ago I went to,
Oh, definitely.
even though it's him.
I think because he takes classes still, he still
Oh, yeah,
travels,
still,
he still
yeah.
brings in new stuff. But because he's an established school, I'm sure his curricula, it's not, like you like to use the reference to bigger things like an aircraft carrier. It doesn't like pivot easily because he has multiple instructors for his stuff. Like they've gone to school to become Masad Ayub instructors. So when he changes a part of his what they call a syllabus, it goes to everyone. So yeah, it's not as easy, I don't think, and this is just me assuming something. Not as easy for him to change stuff and add stuff that he picked up, in the 3 classes or 12 classes that he took, that year, and goes, "Hey, I'm going to incorporate this into my curriculum." That's different
No, good point. Yeah,
than
he's not going to do that.
Yeah, but for someone like me who, is just one dude, or me and my partner, and we have a discussion, go, "Hey, this is what I picked up. Let's throw this in class. I think it's a good tidbit, or I think it's a direction or a section of direction that I never even thought I could give people. But now that I have some experience, at least taking in the class, and I thought about it, and we've brainstormed, let's go in this direction. Easy for me to do. That's why we smoke cigars outside of our freaking events. Hey,
Yeah,
what can we do
yeah,
to make this better? What did we pick up today? All right, cool.
And that's what I really like about in real life events that you don't get online, because typically online is like, we're going to do this at 12. We're going to be on, we're going to be live. We're going to have like a group thing at 7:00 or something. And you do it and you have it, and then you might have a little bit of discussion after, but it's nothing like when you go to an event. People are already there. They're either traveled to it or like it's shot or something. You decided to go to this event on Tuesday or something. So you're basically already there, and the conversations, I find them, at least in the past, or the ones I've been involved with or whatever, so much more useful than, or I guess so much more potential than in just online stuff. Every once in a while, you get an off air after a chat or something that's super good, but most of the time, 6 of the people didn't realize they were staying, or you could stay, so they just immediately sign off. And you get a couple of people that are used to staying around, so they're just going to stand around and bullshit anyway, but you've talked to them 100 times. So it's just, it becomes less of a opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
So,
it is different.
Outcast said earlier, one of the comments I got on the screen, people probably says people also seem to think because they took a class 10 years ago, they're good to go. That's usually not the case. I'm kind of back and forth on that. Like, I do like training. I'm going to stop short of mandatory training for anybody. Like, I do think people who can manage to not walk in the street can probably figure out a gun. Like, they've seen a movie or something. Like, guns are really not that hard. The basic shit is the basic shit. Don't point it at people and don't shoot it at people. Like, that's pretty basic. Aside from over than that, though, I think most competent people can figure them out without having to be told. But that being said, I'm all about classes for all the stuff I just said there. So I'm really back and forth. Like, if somebody said there should be no classes ever, I'd be like, okay, I'm down with that. As long as you don't say we can't have classes, but as long as you're saying, if someone had the position that no one should ever be required to take any kind of class or permit, I'm not as scared of that anarchy-ish type of position, because, and I'll say this, even though people don't like to hear it, guess what? The worst criminal you can think of right now, and whatever criminal is the worst criminal you can think of right now, out on the streets, because of whoever like that politician let him go, right? So that horrible person, guess what? They got a gun right now. Just it's just the fact. So I'm not afraid of the potential of a bunch of people not having training with guns, because guess what? Nobody fucking had training until like 10 years ago at the most. Like, Masada existed. The gun sight existed, front sight and shit existed. How many people? 10,000 people through all those classes combined, maybe, right? Everybody else
let's not
done without
bullcrap.
any kind of training. There was no training for like our grandparents, our great grandparents. All those people managed to live no training at all, none at all. So,
I mean,
anyway, I'm
training
not saying
didn't
there shouldn't
become
be
a
training.
thing.
I'm just saying we're pretty smart as humans. We can figure out a little tiny tool.
Well, my issue with it is you don't know what you don't know. There's a bunch of safety stuff that people blow off, and the reason we're safer now than before is because we pushed those safety things, and that came through training. That didn't just come through practice or people with common
Right.
sense.
The awareness
Keeping your finger
happened
off the
from people
yeah,
focusing on it, where before nobody even focused on it. I'm just saying we weren't like
exactly.
being slaughtered. Like people were
Yeah.
like learning the hard way, unfortunately. And that, even movies and stuff were responsible sometimes because they would just
Hmm.
dumbify a gun or just not even consider a gun. And now no one knows what a gun is. So how is a kid going to clear a gun if they encounter a gun for the first time? Revolver, semi-auto, bolt action, whatever. Nobody knows instinctively how a machine works. So we can blame the antis for that. They're the ones that insist on guns being removed from society through culture like that, which means basic safety. Like something like a stove. No one complains if a movie casually inadvertently shows a mom pushing this with the handle of a pot onto the stove. You know how they'll do so that the baby
Hmm.
doesn't have a way to grab up. Nobody complains about that. But if someone is handling a gun correctly, checking to see if it's loaded, like on a semi-auto, imagine what that means. It goes clickety click 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 click. There's going to be some asshole anti who goes, that's too disturbing. I don't want to hear clickety 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 click. Can't the guy just
Hmm.
pick up the gun and put it in his pocket? Super dangerous move, right? But they're idiots and that feels better to them. So they're responsible, honestly, because that kind of changes in culture for the negative only helped their position that guns are dangerous because they helped make guns
Yep.
more dangerous. And it just, it handicapped or it reduce the amount of people to be aware that, because the thing is, in a popular movie, if they like in Indiana Jones or something, if he would like clear it correctly and everyone saw that, that would just be part of culture. We would just everyone
Yep.
would just know from then on. But instead, people were like, oh, I'm scared of that. I don't want to be I don't want to be featuring guns. So let's just put guns in pockets. Let's just, you pull out the gun, you
Well,
pull the trigger, see if it's loaded or something.
they've allowed people with a political agenda of disarming Americans use the false, oh, we're doing it to keep people safe. And if you're standing against it, then you're against safety. And it's like, no, you have a political agenda that you will never admit to in an honest conversation. And you want to disarm people. And one of the ways to do it is keep people ignorant of how guns work, to keep a fear going. Hey, you're more likely to shoot someone in your family if you own a gun than to shoot someone breaking in. Yeah, and you're likely to drown in a swimming pool if you freaking have one. I mean, you're just playing with words and numbers to push fear and ignorance. And that's what they do. And that's part of the movie thing. That's part of the television thing. And they have organizations that pay people to keep that kind of stupid crap in scripts. And I didn't even know that until I actually heard it firsthand. And it's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is one of them. And they give money to these producers and production companies and the writers. And that's why you don't see smoking in movies and television shows. They actually get paid not to put it in.
Oh,
They get
interesting.
paid a little bit of money not to even include it. And yes, smoking is another thing they have in that. That's why, people smoked. People put their finger on triggers in all those old school movies, man. And we've learned over time that's not how you handle a firearm. You don't round every corner with the gun poking out because you're not knowing what you're aiming at. All that crazy crap. Um, most
Seriously,
people
right?
learn
Like
gun
an
handling
action
from
movie of the
media.
90s are ridiculous gun
Yeah.
handling, and we wouldn't tolerate it as gun owners today. And there's now, because of the internet, I like to give the internet a lot of credit, I guess, but we have
Hmm.
become more what's the word, like community-ish or whatever. Like we all, we band together in areas of interest or region or whatever reasons, and all it takes is enough gun people who are not as scared to talk to go, that movie sucked. Could you believe what they did? And like, that
Hmm.
gets out and that gets back to and then a director, whoever it is, who gives a shit, is going to go, I don't want my movie to be mocked. And I guess that happens too, right? Like a goofy meme or whatever. Remember when Jodie Foster
Hmm.
went into an alley in some movie and buys a gun for $9,000? I forget what movie it is, from like the
Oh,
early
yeah, yeah. She was on
2000s.
the train. Yeah,
something.
she was on the
She's
train
like a
kind of thing.
victim
Yeah.
maybe or something, and then she's like, I'm gonna buy a gun, and the guy goes, you can't buy a gun without a lot of hassle. And then she's like, oh no, I want to buy a gun or something. And he's like, wink wink, I'll meet me in the alley. Or somebody says like, meet me in the alley, and she goes in the alley, and it's like, can I buy this 9mm gun? Yeah, it's $9,000. She's like, okay. Like, what did
Oh,
they
good
come up with
Lord.
this? $9,000. Like, come on. Or maybe it's 900. I think it was $9,000. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, what do
I'll
people in New
sell her
York
every damn
think?
gun I own. I'll sell every goddamn gun I own.
Seriously, like
Tony
you don't
Mathis.
think that everyone would be trafficking guns if they cost $9,000? Come on, that's ridiculous.
Hey, listen, ma'am. Usually I wouldn't do this, but this single shot Stevenson, I'm giving you a deal for $9,000.
It's only $2,000 for this one.
Uh,
Fire sale on them.
that's
Anyway.
crazy. But yeah, you're right.
But no, I don't want to discourage
and-
training. I think everyone should, and that's the thing too, is there's so much training now. Like you can do pretty much anything you want. You just have to go pay attention a little bit, find out from people what the instructors are like. But I guess the comment was that people think that what they did 10 years ago. I just want to give, because as we're aging, like I was seeing but our parents' generation is aging out, getting to the point where they're going to start just, encountering real old age stuff that our grandparents used to do. So, and I'm just saying that because of the generations or whatever, like the baby boomer generation is about to start turning into what what are we, X? Whatever X's grandparents was like 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it was. So, as that happens, we're going to see a lot. Maybe we won't see anything, but I think we're going to see some issues with like this old guy or this old lady shot a guy because, they're too old to own a gun or whatever. Just the same way that we see things, at least I see them out here. I live in a retirement area in Arizona, but somebody will stroke out, inevitably a couple of times a year, somebody's driving along and they die while they're driving and something happens. Rarely do they hurt anybody else because of, it's just ridiculous. There's just not that many times when your actions are going to directly kill somebody, but you can cause accidents and then freak everybody out for sure. And then everybody's concerned about it for like 5 minutes. But, again, what are you going to tell all old people they can't drive? Like that just doesn't work. They drive around, do too much stuff. But I'm assuming that we're going to start to see stuff like that. So I'm guessing that means that we're going to start to see how to teach your elderly people to carry, or like you're elderly and you want to carry, you know what I mean? Like somebody's going to start catering to that. So I'm all about training. I'm just saying at the same time, I acknowledge that like my grandparents never had driver's licenses. I don't remember when the driver's licenses started, but everyone managed to drive a car, own a car, do everything they did with cars until they created driver's licenses at some, time. So we're just good at stuff. You know what I mean? Like as humans, we're capable. Yeah, we might not be polished and we might learn the hard way, which isn't ideal. I just don't want to be the Borg where we don't do nothing without rules, right? I mean, whatever the opposite of freedom, right, would be. So that's where I'm definitely wishy-washy. I understand that I don't really have a strong position here because, like I say, I'll vote for the guy that says we don't need any training, but I'll also vote for the girl that says training is valuable and all the way up to mandatory.
Well, I won't vote for the person that says training is mandatory. You're out. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't like
that's
that.
too much.
Yes, it's too much room for abuse by anti-gun people, or even people that are totally ignorant, because the people that write the rules about firearms and firearms training have nothing to do with it for the most part. They're totally ignorant of it. Oh, sounds good, 16 hours. What the frick are you going to talk about for 16 hours in the CCW class? I mean, that's running the defensive firearms class. It's still a 2-day class. That's a solid ass class. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, seriously, that would be an
500 rounds.
expensive class, right? Like if you had somebody like Kevin, like you have KD come in for 2 days, like, that's not going to be a CCW cost $95 or whatever.
No, that's not going to be a $95 CCW class. It's going to be a $350 freaking defensive firearms class. And truthfully, you add another freaking day to it, it'll probably have low light in it too. Yeah, Grandma went away and came back John Wick. She took 3-day classes and she can actually run a surefire light on the end of her freaking Glock 43.
Well, that's kind of what Outcast is saying. He's saying he's seen several cases where untrained kids have successfully protected their home and family. And I think, yes, but at the same time, like that kid who's untrained, he's watched TV. And because TV or movies, whatever, or maybe in video games, give credit to whatever the kids pay attention to. But because they're more realistic and made by people who have hopefully, obviously, I'm assuming if he was able to capably use the gun, then he was watching. Anyway, I'm just saying he has influenced by culture, and that culture is more accurate, I guess, lately or recently.
And it used to be,
than it ever was. Because look at the Wrong Ranger shooting guns out of people's hands. I mean, that's the kind of shit that our parents grew up with, unreasonable shit like that. And then we got the 38 in the fucking pants all the time, like from the 70s.
Shoot him in the knee, or shoot him in the or shoot him in the shoulder, kind of crap.
Dude, I just watched a show where he goes, "Oh, you should have killed me," because it was like a cop shooting his friend, and he goes, "Oh, you should have shot me. You should have killed me." He goes, "No, that's why I shot you in the shoulder."
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Who the frick? Who is that? Jerry Miculek? He can call a shot like that, dude. Naturally,
the guy was running. He was running away from him and shot him in the shoulder with a snub nose. But that would have been what the kid would have watched on TV, and that might have been what the kid tried to do when somebody's breaking into the house, right? But nowadays, they're taught a more probably Global War on Terror or some kind of CSI. I don't know. CSI had pretty bad gun handling from what I remember. They had some goofy. They didn't pay attention to their guns in CSI. That's one show that I did watch for a bit when it first came out, and I didn't like the gun handling in it. I don't remember what years that was, but whoever that director was didn't give a shit about guns. There's a couple of cop shows where I'll see like a meme or something and they're making fun of the cop show, so that's how I see them. But like you can tell the directors that know about guns versus the directors that don't give a shit, because they always got their gun like, I don't know what to call it. Like it's like the opposite of FBI. It's not appendix. It's almost appendix, but it's not a normal carry. It's like right on that, right where you wouldn't ever want to put a gun, like where no one carries a gun. That's where they have it on TV next to their badge, like gun badge next to each other, because that's how cops are or something.
Yeah, of course. I'm still laughing because I'm thinking about some of those shows, and you're 100% right. But then the movies, you got like Michael Mann. He's a serious gun. There's a couple of serious gun guys. When they make a movie, they want it to look right. Firearms handling, and that's more and more. And video games are more and more. So yeah, when that 13-year-old boy defends the house with the 22, the 10-22. He's John Wicked a while. He's dad taught him how to use that gun, or it got him into it because he was shooting a 15-22 or a tactical 22, and he was able to apply it.
The kid knows to like. And hopefully the kid knows to like lay down in the closet, right, with the door halfway open. And then when that guy walks up the staircase, you know what I mean? From like some video game sniper situation, like hopefully the kid knows how to be 100% safe. And the bad guy's walking into his territory. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
You got. I'm sorry. It's just cooking in my head. You just got shot by a kid that was camping at the top of the stairs, and now he's calling you horrible shit. As you're fading to black, you hear him talk about what he's gonna do to your mama, like he's talking in the COD lobby. I'm going to the house and bring your mom.
And that would be apt, right? That would like the perfect ending for that guy's fade out.
Yeah. As you're fading to black, you just hear this little 12-year-old with a high-pitched voice talking about what he's gonna do to your mom.
Oh man! Well, we started an hour late. We're 2 hours in. I didn't ask you if you got a hard stop tonight or not. I don't really, but we're also 2 hours.
No.
I
just got stuck today.
Right on. Well, we got a good chat in here. Do you got anything coming up again besides the diversity shoots? Do you got any travel coming up?
Yeah, man. I need your money. Send the brothers some dough. We have two things happen. One, NRA is coming up in April, and yes, I'll be going there, and I need to find a place to stay. I'm going to reach out to some people, see if we can split something if they're staying at Airbnb or need another person to split a hotel room. But yeah, I'm flying down there in April to be a part of the NRA and get everything together. Also, we have diversity shoot coming up this week, and we have it one every 2 weeks all year long. So that's happening. And I reached out to John Patton, asked him if I'm going to be a speaker at GunCon this year. Just want to make sure. And she was like, "Hey, I got you on media list," and I was like, "Yeah, no, I just want to make sure if I'm speaking, I'd like to speak there." Um, to talk about advocacy and how to put it together and how to stop this divisiveness that we have going on in the industry now, based on damn near everything. Um, that word, I think, needs to be pushed a lot more, and people don't want to touch it. Like the divisiveness within the Second Amendment advocacy community that's happening. And that's a topic that a friend of mine brought up last night. I'm leaving it alone because you might not want this heat. But
No, go for it. I'm down because it's one of those things that, I mean, if I could have remained doing it, I'd still be doing it. I'm kind of glad I didn't because I'm better off now than I was before. But I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, when I hear what you're saying about advocates, I would say it's not engineered. Nobody sat down and did this, but it's the eventual. It's a understandable consequence of activism is a fucking hobby. Like the only way you can be a two-way activist and ever, like I don't know of anyone except for like the Wayne LaPierres who got paid. And then there's like 8 of those people right now probably. But anybody who's an activist, period, is doing it out of their own pocket. Like nobody's getting paid to do it. Again, if you're talking like employees of the organizations, they're not activists. People that are actually doing shit are doing it out of their own pocket. Luckily, we have a bunch of chicks that can somehow do it. Like, I don't know how they have all this money to do it. Like, luckily, they're smart enough to make money to do this. Otherwise, we'd be fucked because it's really a bunch of chicks doing this. There's a couple of dudes, and the dudes have to make money also. And so what they do to make money, like Pincus, whatever he does to make money alienates, I don't know what the ratio might be. Let's say 40% of the people that he would ever be able to talk to if he wasn't making money the way he was. So like some people are going to go, I don't like the way you got a gun company, or I don't like the way the makers match, like Pickett. He has too many things. Like, I don't like your training, like whatever, something. I don't like you're an author. I don't like what you did 20 years ago. Like Pincus has too many things. So there's somebody that's going to bitch about it. So they're never going to listen to whatever he says that's good. And then just take that and, manipulate it. Cheryl Todd, like Edgar, whoever you want to pick, KDU, like whoever, pick somebody, and then they're going to have issues. I don't like how Tony does this or that. So that being said, so everyone's doing it on their own, and you only got so much, what's the word, stamina and wallet to do it. So if you're going to get wailed on by somebody, like, I don't like the way you're doing it, or ignoring is just as bad as wailing on somebody. So I hate you, I hate you, I hate you every day is going to wear you down. You're never going to do it again. Or you just are speaking to yourself every fucking day. There's, you're completely ignored. Good luck. So the 3-level organizations who had the ability, have the ability, and will continue to have the ability, don't do anything for this. They walk away like mute, like if they can't do anything and they couldn't do anything and they have no influence, which is bullshit. So that's the world we live in. And they every once in a while they like Paul, like they'll deem somebody like, ding, like you get to play for a while. They never paid him, I don't think. Maybe they did. But they deemed him like an advocate, that was official or something, for what it's worth. But anyway, all that happens is we're all up for grabs. And then you throw it into the atmosphere of YouTube, where back for a while there, you could make money just by being interesting, just because, without bitching, the robots would send people to what they were interested in and not what the robots wanted to send you to. Like, you want to watch this, like, not you, we want you to watch this. So when people were led to what they wanted to watch, everybody found what they wanted and people were able to grow. But when it changed to you have to do what we want in order to grow, well, you can't be an advocate anymore. So now your people who are useless have no interest in, no incentive at all. They actually have an anti-incentive to ever be an activist. So there's just so much going, what's the word? Like there's not much going for being an activist. There's certainly no perk. Like there's no benefit. You're going to be semi-famous for a minute if you try really fucking hard. as a Second Amendment activist. You'll never get rich, and you'll probably wear yourself down to where, unless you are really good at managing your social life in real life, you're going to wear out your real life shit to the point where you never come back again. At least that's what I suspect happens to most of the people that we never see again. Or since we never see them again, we have no idea. But anyway, no, I think that we are in a bad position because we take for granted the people who work for us. And there's the people who have the ability to do something about it are either dumbasses or don't give a fuck, because they have never and don't do what's barely minimum. For example, if they offered $1,000 a month, which is nothing, $12,000 a year to somebody who if 1,000, you know how it is when I happen to be getting license plates for my car, so I'm going to pick this in a thing. If you want a new license plate in Arizona to say like, whammo or some shit, like all you got to do is get 1,000 people, I think, or maybe it's like 400 people, and they'll make a new license plate. Like they don't give a shit. So if there's let's say the national level organizations say, hey, as long as we get 1,000 upvotes for this activist, then we're giving them $1,000 a month. What would that mean to any activist out there? I mean, that's fucking night and day. That's amazing. Yeah, if it was $5,000 a month, you'd have full-time activists out there. But does that happen? Fuck no. Like they don't even consider it. They don't even act like it's a thing. But anyway, I don't know where you were going with that. But if you're talking about the harsh reality of being a Second Amendment advocate, it's the consequence that we all live, the people who are activists live in. I'm not one anymore. You're going to have to fight with each other because you're all in a fucking hole and you don't have any resources, and you're either going to have real life situations that drive you nuts or these online relationships that are going to drive you nuts. And then as soon as resources gets narrow, you got to be the best of friends to like not turn on each other. So, I mean, I can totally see people who barely know each other turning on each other constantly, because we're all, in fact, it seems like they're all fighting for the same very few resources that are available.
Well, this is it's none of that. It's some of the people, because people are going to want to say that they want to defend bad activities by some of these people. So I'll go ahead and read it. It's from Jill McDaniel. Jill McDaniel's his mom at arms. Okay. She's also the Virginia Defense.
Virginia Citizens Defense League's like media person.
Yes, and Jill has been in it a long time. A lot of the stuff you know about Moms Demand Action is because of Jill and her investigative skills and everything like that. Well, she's speaking out, and I'll go ahead and read it because Jill is a spokesperson and writes for a living. I do not care whose feelings I hurt when I say this, but the Second Amendment community is going to hurt itself the more these 2A women keep using the same language as the anti-gun crowd uses, just in a different outfit, talking about women in 2A spaces. Y'all sound like Moms Demand. Seriously. The anti-gun movement built an entire narrative around portraying women as fragile, afraid, and in constant need of protection. And now some women inside the 2A community are repeating the same framework, just with different branding. That is not empowerment. That is recycling their message. And before anyone comes for me, let's be clear. None of you, let that sink in, none of you have countered the anti-gun movement the way I have. I didn't just show up and take selfies at the range and talk about being in a woman's space. I went straight to the lion's den. While you were all planning your social media presence and fame, my goofy booty walked right up in a Moms Demand Everytown meeting in person with their head folks in attendance almost 10 years ago, and told them who I was and what I was there for, and I'm now their public enemy number one. That is a fact. The reason the 2A community has the information it does about the anti-gun movement is because my team and I were the ones who infiltrated their circles and documented what they were doing. We studied their tactic, their messaging, their strategy, and how they manipulate narratives. I have their playbook sitting in my hands right now. Without that work, a lot of the information 2A figure people casually repeat today about how the anti-gun machine operates would not exist in the public sphere the way it does now. And yes, I did that as a woman. The fact that I have to remind y'all of this is astounding because if we were truly a girls' club, then many of you would be crawling to me for the information. You're not. You use me for your clout and move on like I never existed. Or, like some of y'all's favorite female redhead in this arena, would come and tell me and other women to stay in my lane or go behind my back and message the survivors I've worked with personally because she ripped off my friends list and tell them some untrue things about me. The men in this industry do not do that to me, by the way. And I promised them a thing. I always have receipts, many, many receipts. With that said, at the same time, I entered two male-dominated arenas, investigations and firearms instruction, and I've been winning in both. Not because anyone rolled out a red carpet for me, not because anyone treated me gently, and certainly not because I spent my time complaining about being a woman in the space. I succeeded because I understood the mission, and the mission is defending the Second Amendment, not building personal brands around victimhood. Again, I do not care whose feelings that hurt. I mean, if we actually want women to be stronger in the 2A world, we need to have a real conversation. First, get a backbone. The firearms world has always been rough around the edges. It's full of military vets, cops, blue-collar folks, hunters, mechanics, and people who grew up trash-talking each other as a sport. Not every blunt comment is oppression. Not every correction is meant to demean your training. Second, stop caring what the men think about you. Seriously, if you walk into a room worried about whether the guys approve of you, you've already lost the plot. You're there to learn, train, teach, organize, and defend liberty, not win a popularity contest. And if the acceptance of some dude in this industry is what you need to continue forward, you are not here for the Second Amendment cause. You're here to be that man's Barbie doll. Third, learn the difference between mean talk and mean actions. If someone says something you do not like, you have options. Clap back, outshoot them, outtrain them, or walk away. But let me be clear before y'all twist stuff. Son of a biscuit. It blinked. Okay, hold on. Yeah, Jill is not to be trifled with.
I thought I knew who she was talking about, and then I thought somebody else who she was talking about. So, I mean, obviously, I have no idea who she's talking about, but I can think
know
of
exactly
people
who
who
she's
fall
talking
into some
about.
of these slots.
All right, let me see. Boom. Let me be clear before y'all twist stuff. Words alone are not oppression. Actual misconduct is something entirely different. If someone is putting their hands on you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, that is not boys being boys. That is unacceptable behavior. But if you are someone who claims to represent armed, capable women, all while tolerating that kind of treatment, then we have a bigger problem. Because the entire point of women being in the 2A community is that we are capable, independent, and able to defend ourselves. Not that we are helpless victims waiting for someone else to fix the situation. And another thing, stop acting like gun ranges are the only places women can train. They are not. There are female instructors, private classes, community groups, personal training networks, mentors, traveling instructors, educational programs, online coursework, entire ecosystems of learning opportunity. If someone truly wants to train, the opportunity exists. What we should be doing as women in the 2A community is building each other up through competence, skill, and leadership, not constantly framing ourselves as outsiders in the world we are already part of. Because here's the truth.
Holy
Women
shit.
have always been part of it. Oh, yeah, she's on fire, baby.
Yep.
Because here's the truth. Women have always been part of the American firearms tradition. Frontier women carried rifles to defend their homes. Mothers taught their children how to shoot. Women ran farms, protected family, and held the line when men were away at war. If those women from back then could see how some of you dumb us down with this, make the spaces safe for us, just to stay relevant in the realm in some way, they would probably come and take your pews from you and call you a pansy. Strength is not new to us, and the Second Amendment does not need women who act like guests in the room. It needs women who act like we actually are, free citizens who are capable and dangerous to tyranny. And we are perfectly comfortable standing shoulder to shoulder with anyone willing to defend liberty. Stop giving our oppression more fuel for their fire. Jill McDaniel.
Yeah. Is that recent or she did that a while ago?
Oh, she did this yesterday, and it seemed that people were afraid to share it because of who. I mean, she didn't name them, but if you're any advocate in the community, you knew who one of the people she was referring to. And it
I
seems to be
know
a
who
whole thing
I
now.
think I know from back. I haven't followed Jill in a while because
Hmm.
one, I don't do Instagram anymore, and I don't remember where I was following her, but she definitely starts shit. Like she gets mad and does stuff
Hmm.
like that, which is fine. I have
Yep.
bitches all the time, so anybody can do what they want. But I just didn't. I didn't know who she was talking about half the time. And Virginia is Virginia. Like that's what happens there. Is they're strong, but then whenever they lose, they get all pissed. And the other thing is they do their shit right at SHOT Show, and they finally have like a chip on their shoulder. It seems like, and it's like not our fault that SHOT Show happens. And if you need, if you think it's such a big deal, tell SHOT Show to move. But SHOT Show and your shit are on the same week, and they always like shit about Virginia's thing. Yeah, because we're at SHOT Show. Like, what do you want us to do about it? Like, nobody's going to go to your thing anyway. So it's not like if we weren't at SHOT Show, 60,000 people are going to show up in Virginia. No one shows up anywhere. So the only people who are going to show up in Virginia are Virginians, and you do when you need to. Like occasionally, you have. Or I should say, I don't want to make it sound like demeaning or whatever, you know what I mean? Like they can when they need to, or
Well,
they have in the
this,
past.
I get it, but this was not about Virginia. This was about the industry and certain people in it. And she's right. And I reposted it, and I pretty much blatantly said I agree with her. And if you don't like it, too fucking bad. Um,
No, I agree with it.
and
I'm
you
sick
know,
of, like I've been holding my tongue for a while, but I tried
uh huh.
hard when like maybe I don't even remember when this was anymore, but years ago when I was really doing shit like the cartooning and stuff and like really trying to get
Hmm.
people aware of the activists that were out there. Um, After about 2-3 years of that, I was like, when you join the ranks and you want to say women have a voice too, awesome, like good. But after
Hmm.
5 minutes, you've had a voice, so quit sing a different tune now. Like now say
Uh
something with
huh.
that voice. And we didn't
Yep.
get that. We got, I don't want to keep saying like new ladies kept coming because you're allowed to come in and not know the deal. Like that's cool. Like,
Hmm.
anybody can come in and say something dumb their first time or just say something again that doesn't need to be said because you didn't know it's been said a million times. Now, once you're there, you don't get to keep
Hmm.
going. Every time somebody new comes in, go, yeah, what they said, because now you're egging on a flame that doesn't need to happen. But anyway, that was one of the things that got me. And I'm the same with the liberal gun owner, whoever the hell that is, because there's been a couple of organizations. But
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It's easy for me to say because I don't got to do shit. I just got to sit here bitching. Like it's super easy for me to say. But it is frustrating that we didn't have exactly what Jill said. People that just figured out like, I don't need to ask for a seat at the table. I got a fucking seat at the table. I'm sitting here, and here's my position. Because honestly, gun runners would have been like, okay, like you know what I mean. There's no kickback to that. It's just people don't know it, so it never happened hard. Because every time somebody said, "Can I pull a chair in?" Everybody's like, "Why are you asking?" Yeah, of course you can pull a chair. Like yes. What do you have to offer? Like, thank you. We didn't know that before, or something, right? Like it's always been that way, but because they don't stick around long enough, which was what I was bitching about earlier. I think like I just get discouraged when people like Jill or somebody like Jill's not a good example because she's stuck around, but somebody who's
Hmm.
oh man, I don't want to call people out, but if I had to sit here for a second, I'd probably name like 12 people that were kick ass, sat around for a minute, and because they didn't get called on enough, they didn't understand the
Hmm.
procedure that it's like boarding house. Because that's the thing, we used to call it boarding house rules or something when I was a kid.
Hmm.
But when you go to like camp or something, and you were sitting at a table and there was like 12 biscuits in a bowl, you fucking grab a biscuit. You're like, oh, are you waiting for grandma to come along and ration them out? Like that ain't gonna happen. Like grab your fucking
Yeah.
biscuit, or else somebody's gonna grab two biscuits so they figure you didn't want a biscuit. And if people aren't used to that kind of eating, then they're gonna get they're hungry all the time because they sit down at the table and wait for grandma to serve them, and that ain't happening everywhere. And I think that happens, with this community is that people expect like some kind of rules or something that doesn't exist, some kind of procedure that doesn't exist. In reality, it's not even like you have to be pushy or rude. You just have to claim a spot and sit down and have a position. That's why I always bitch about 9mm shooters. Nobody asked for 9mm. Nobody said, okay, it's 9mm's room to talk or time to talk, and they let them have a position. They just sat down and started saying shit about 9mm, and all of a sudden we got 9mm everywhere. So fill that in with anything. Competition shooters, like nobody really asked for that stuff. They just sat down. In fact, nobody asked for them so bad that like years later they had to change, a whole nother organization had to start just adjacent to them because they weren't satisfied. And we've just well, I don't know. I don't want to say we've lost it. We're not everyone is aware that that's a thing, and that's why I say it's not even hardly frustrating. It's frustrating, but it's not. I'm not discouraged because it just means new people are coming to the mix. I don't know if you pay attention on my YouTube channel. I ask about once a month, what's better? I put that like that guy
Mm-hmm.
who's pushing the two buttons, and I go, what's better,
Oh, I saw
having
that. Yeah.
new
Go ahead.
activists or bringing new activists on, or keeping old activists around? There's no right answer, but almost everybody says new activists, and I'm like, that's awesome. You're taking it for granted that old activists aren't leaving because you haven't been around or you haven't been paying attention. But we have more activists that have come and gone than we have current activists at any one time, at least right now. Back in the day, we had, I just know this because it was hard to keep track of them all. We had so many activists, but now we're down to like, I would say like 24 of y'all, maybe. And there was probably 60 at a time. And I don't know if it was just cool at the time or if it was just easier or what. But like I say, there was no fostering. It was very much taken for granted that we're just always going to have new activists coming on board. Like, oh, a new whatever heard from, new section heard from, new faction heard from. Join the table. Except what table? The GRPC. Everybody loves GRPC every once in a while, and then people forget about it, and then they love it, and then they forget about it. But guess who doesn't invite anybody back? You know what I mean? Like GRPC is like, hey, we're open, but where's the invites? Like, where's the? I'm not going to bitch too much, but we don't have any of the 3-letter organizations creating that.
Yeah. So when I reposted it, I went 10 toes down, and I was like, and oh, by the way, don't DM me and try to disagree with me privately. Either say it in the comments or go to Jill's page. Don't come at me because I don't want to hear it. This is what I believe, and you calling me on the back end ain't going to change a damn thing. So, so she actually clarified in, the redhead that she mentioned.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
Yeah.
Not the one that thinks I'm the other Rob. Like, I don't remember that. I don't think I was there for that, but.
Yeah. So the person that is one of the people, the one that thinks he was the Rob. Yeah. That's one of the people that she's talking about that's using this whole thing. And she even used one of her phrases that, the redhead has the audacity to tell people to stay in their lane. And that whatever it is, it's, not in her way because she owns a lane. You don't own a lane, lady. One, you just showed up in 2019. Congratulations. You've been in here longer than some, but nowhere near long as most. You don't own a lane. And neither does anybody in this industry. I don't own diversity. You don't own freaking domestic violence victims. And women aren't weak.
That would have been like Paxton Quigley or some shit, like from like the 80s or the 90s. Like,
oh, yeah, if you're going to go back to.
Is that what her name was?
Yeah.
Or even go back further to like, there's got to be examples of like, I want to say like Calamity Jane or some shit, but you know what I mean? Like examples of like, not Annie Oakley, she didn't have any strife, but you know what I mean? Like you go back and you're going to have examples like.
But Annie Oakley still fought for women. No, Annie Oakley still freaking fought and set up women in firearms industries and women in shooting sports. Like she did all of that in the early 1900s.
Female advocate, period. For guns.
Yeah. So to act like you own a lane because you just got in it, I'm like, yo, stop. So anyway, what the hard part about doing something like that is people love to, well, first thing they pull is a victim card. Well, you're only saying this because I'm a. Well, cool. I'm glad Jill stepped up because she's a woman with a track record of having done work, having been a writer, actually having led the charge in this particular series of battles of modern day gun control. And she's the one that got actually the playbook from Mom's Demand and the Brady's and all of that. And she's speaking out because I've been watching it and certain these people building up a little crew of women that run around saying they're victims. And I'm like, no, dude, you're not. This is the place where you got pretty much everybody in the industry standing behind you 10 toes down. And the ones that are hitting on you, because there's always going to be dudes that are just inappropriate. and act like they've never seen a woman before. We shut them down when you tell us about them. We don't know. They're not doing it in front of us. I mean, if anybody's, because I host events and I have a large percentage of women that come to my events. My guys aren't hitting up. They aren't saying slick stuff. They're not, you know what I mean? They're just not. And it's unacceptable and we won't have it. Why? Because I'm there to show you, your mom, your sister, your daughter, your granddaughter. I'm introducing her to this thing. And I want you to have no qualms, not even to think secondly about it, that she's going to be treated as like a lady that we want here and we want to feel safe. And we never want her to worry about anything going sideways with us around. But that's if it's a woman, if it's Hispanic, if they're Black, if they're whatever from a minority, if they're LGBTQ, this is a human right, and we want to make you feel safe here as a human being. And I will toss your ass the hell out of my event if I think you're doing anything to screw that up. And I think that's most people. That's most human beings.
Yeah. This isn't like it's unique or nothing. It's just that I
No.
think this has value. Like this is something that's bigger than the bickering and bigger than the the whatever we would call this, like just the humanity, whatever the hell it is. Because like I said, it's probably the same. Pick it up, put it down in another country, right? Same culture or different culture, same dynamic, right? But because we have smart people and we have people that really want to get the shit done. You'd think we'd have somebody that would have figured out that, like, here's the system we can use to get beyond that. I think I was trying to say it before, like, if we had some sort of a thing that said, as long as you get 1,000 votes for it, that you're still doing work, like that people are paying attention to what you're doing and they value what you're doing, here's $1,000, and that would be a way to let the results pay for some kind of a grant or something to allow stuff to get done that doesn't have market value necessarily, like in terms of like what YouTube will monetize and that kind of thing. And that doesn't require having like a whole new social platform. And I think that's one of the reasons the attempts at new social platforms have been at least of interest to me, because that was that potential. But when you look at something like Rumble, which is probably the current biggest alternative platform that guns can prosper on, how much advocacy is being done over there? It's probably, I'm assuming it's a lot of political stuff, and then here's the machine gun stuff or the breakdowns or the disassemblies that I can't do on YouTube anymore, so technical stuff. But I doubt it's like any of the groups we know are over there being really big activists or advocates anymore. Like they know, well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for them. They're doing fine. I mean, I don't wish ill on them. They're doing progress or whatever. But there's no buts. Anyway, but I do know a few other people who could fit into the general description that Jill described there.
Mm-hmm.
And
she meant more than one person. Yeah.
And it is what it is. I don't really care. I don't want such a small or tight group of gun owners or something that, like, they all like each other. I don't care. Like, there's a whole bunch of people I don't like that I respect and can do their thing. There's people I don't respect who I don't like, just like anything. But yeah, I don't know. We're not Borg, right? We're not some kind of communists that all just read the same manual and agree and do this, the things that need to be done so that we can be like a giant entity or something. So some of this is just going to be, we're humans and we don't have those interests, right? None of us want to be like that, I don't think. So, there's some of the, I don't know what to call that, like just some of the stuff we're going to have to deal with. On the other hand, we do have technologies that could make a lot of this less or completely gone if we would figure out how to deal with it or create it or something. Because right now, and now another meme we'll put out there because it's frustrating, we as gun owners are persecuted on at least the biggest platforms. For the most part, Facebook, I guess they're acting like not, but they are persecuting us still. and then YouTube for sure. And then some of the other larger ones don't necessarily, you don't prosper in any of them as a gun focused thing. And since gun stuff can't prosper, there's no way Second Amendment advocacy is going to prosper as like a small subset of guns. What was I saying? Oh, and so I don't know, like, because we all put our stuff on these other platforms, and the world doesn't value, like, for example, a website or a small individual set of channels connected to each other. Since that's not a thing yet, or it hasn't been a thing, we don't have that recourse. So what we're doomed to is either use the platforms that hate us and do what we can to survive on those platforms, or abandon them, in which case we essentially are silent, right? Because there's very little reach if you're not on the giant platforms, at least at this point. I'm not saying there's not going to be a shift in the way the world works. I don't think people are ultra satisfied with the way things are. Do you think, as a young kid who was given a screen of some sort by a parent or by a school or by whoever, and you get to a certain age where you start to, at a certain age as humans, right? We're going to start to get, like, whenever we're teenagers, or we start to question shit and we start to rebel and all that. Have we got to the point where that generation that's been given screens is going to be like, wait a minute, I can do what I want? I'm sick of screens. Like, is that fantasy, or is that a possibility? Do you see that happening?
There's going to be pushback. Yeah,
right.
There's going to be pushback.
That's the perfect word. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're seeing it now with people that are, you have all the benefits of everything in life, and there's still people going, yeah, I want to go from field to table. I want a homestead. And it's a generation of people doing that now. I don't want a new truck. I want to take this OBS Ford or Chevy and rebuild it and have it. I don't want the new stuff. I like the old stuff because it was awesome. And they're pushing back against a lot of this crap. And it's great, because I thought it was going to be at least another 2 generations before it happened. And it's happening now. And I'm like, thank goodness. Because as the person of my age that would have kids that were in their, 30s, 20s, and 30s now, I was like, look, you're screwing this thing up. This soft parenting and all the other crap are not giving the kids, like, a lot of the things that were coming, you were letting other things raise your children, and using weird language that's really inclusive, and not have, participation trophies and all that. And I'm like, oh, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, there are no losers. There's only participants, and there are no winners. There's just different levels of performance, right? And it's like,
we all win. And I just, again, because my friends were that age and they had the kids, so I'm standing there as a single dude, and it also comes from the background, right? Born and raised in the country on a farm where you grew food, and you know how things actually worked, and hard work and sacrifice that it takes just to grow a tomato plant. And then you have, sports growing up, football with a hardcore coach that thought he was Bear Bryant, and then the United States Marine Corps. And I'm standing there and I'm listening to this namby-pamby stuff at my goddaughter's brother's soccer game. Oh yeah, we don't score after this because if the kids start losing too badly, we stop counting score. Who's that helping? One, the kids don't stop counting score. They know they got their ass kicked. And two, who is that helping? Now it's just an activity. It's not even a sport.
Yeah, it's just a robot. It's not really a competition anymore.
Yeah, or when my nephew came home and told him the teacher said if they, because he was being bullied, and I said, well, listen, if they put their hands on you, pop them in the face. But unless they put their hands on you, you can walk away from anything or goof on them harder. And they told us we shouldn't do that. And if they hit us, I should lay down on the floor and curl up and call for a teacher. I went, whoever told you that was never in the fight. One, you never get on the floor voluntarily. I was like, putting yourself on the floor means even a small person can kick you and cause damage. Standing on your feet and wedging yourself in a corner only has you an attacker in front of you, at least. That's more of a defensive thing, not laying on the floor. I was like, never listen to people that have never been in a fight give you advice. But this was the stuff that that generation was raised on, and people like me push back against. And now the kids are now going, yeah, no, I want to take Taekwondo, I want to take BJJ, I want to, take these activities instead of playing soccer, or even including playing soccer. But I want to learn to fight, or I want to learn to hunt, I want to learn to do things with my hands, and they're pushing back against being raised by softies. Don't know what it takes, but I'm glad it's doing something. And I love seeing the kids at diversity shoots. That's great. And that's on parents that are kind of thinking like me. Um, One lady brought all of her kids to my events, and I love it. Her and her daughter are actually coming, and her best friend. Her best friend brought his son. One of the ladies who brought my to my event her son to join the Merchant Marine. That's what it's called, right? Merchant Marines.
Well, that's what it used to be called, but it's still the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Merchant Marine. He went to the academy, but he was either going to a Merchant Marine Academy or he was going to Coast Guard, and she wanted him to get his introduction to firearms at our events. So he's not seeing them for the first time, and he's come to multiple, and now he's over in the academy kicking ass. Actually, was featured in the newspaper article there. So it's pretty cool that this generation is pushing back, and I'm glad it happened quickly before I was too old to go. I told you. Maybe they're saving something this generation. Look, times change. Every generation thinks the generation after them is soft. I read a newspaper article talking about the new generation and how they're soft and how they've never really faced struggle. And the article was written in like 1903, talking about how
Yeah.
soft the kids were in the early 1900s.
Dude, can you even imagine, like, once there's like inside heating, like how much of wussies they thought people were? Like, they got telephones. Like, we had to like travel to go find out if Aunt Mary was home or whatever. And if she wasn't home, we'd have to stay there for 2 days until she got home so we could tell her the news, and then take another 2 days to get home. It would take you 4 days to tell Aunt Mary what's going on. You can just make a phone call now.
When they can say things like, these electric lights are making them soft.
Yeah, that was happening. Or running water, that's the same thing. Like, because you'd value even the chores of, but there's something to that too. Obviously,
but you
you're
can't
gonna
talk
value
about
water a lot more when you got to go pick it up with a bucket out of the river.
Yeah, you can't talk about how hard your life is in the early 1900s when you have paved roads. Paved roads, a
all the
doctor
trade
in
and
town.
stuff. Like, you can eat an apple year round now, and back in the day, you didn't even know what apple was.
Yeah, you have oysters coming to your desert town because that was a big thing, because they had refrigerated trains, and you're talking to somebody that.
When you look at it, prehistoric. So before there was written history, there's shells in the middle of the desert. So even that is like bullshit because somebody was walking around with a donkey, sign language with people back in prehistoric days to trade. So people have been doing a lot of stuff for a long time.
Oh, people have been doing stuff, but I just find it funny that every generation says the generation after them got soft. And
we're getting softer, but we're getting smarter. So at the same time you're softer, you got more to deal with. So I would say, yeah, but right, like
yeah,
because like our grandparents would give us shit, and it's like, Grandpa, all you had to worry about was like 8 things compared to seems like hundreds of things I got to deal with. And honestly, even though I think they're trivial things, I'm assuming the kids these days are dealing with tons of shit. I can't even imagine having your parents filming you your whole fucking life, and now you don't have no privacy. You wouldn't even value privacy because you've never experienced it. So I mean, I'll give them, like, they're different than me. With different shit than me for sure.
But some of our problems are comparative. We're comparing ourselves to what we see on TV, social media, and all that stuff. So you see it as a problem. Understand that smarter that we say we are is a collective smarter. Oh, I'm smarter than my grandfather because I know how to use a computer. Yeah, I bet you don't know how to build a computer. You know what I mean? Like you're taking on that smart. You don't know how electricity works. You can't explain it. Like you were smart with the things that are here. Your grandfather didn't have those things, and he was able to start a fire. You know what I mean? He was able
Oh, for
to
sure.
grow
Yeah. Things that of like critical value versus like I'm really good at
food.
sniping in a video game. Like, what about the other
Yeah,
video games that you're not good at? Well, I don't pay attention to those video games. Like, all right, well, what about the stuff that's not even a video game? Like, that's not, it's out of my realm. I don't even think about that shit.
exactly. And again, Sean and I used to play this game called Can You Beat Your Grandfather? Can you beat your grandfather at things that actually make a difference, that grow plants, that fix stuff, that works on a roof, that knows how to do? And the grandfather has to be back. I mean, truthfully, this generation, it may have to be great grandfather. You know what I mean? Like the young kids today. Can
Sure,
you
because
work with
we're
your hands?
grandparents. Yeah.
Yeah. If your power went out, if you are you useful? If a tornado, whatever, comes through and shuts the power down and does some damage, do you know how to do anything? Do you have tools? Do you have work gloves? Like, do you know how to do anything without the technology that's around the day that makes you a useful person? Even if are you even in shape enough to move stuff out of the way to help someone get out of a house?
I might
Any
not
of it.
be in shape, but I feel like I could gather the energy using some sort of like, how when they say moms can lift a car off of their kid, and then that energy
Hmm.
plus like whatever the Hulk had, because I've been around a lot of gamma rays, so I'll harness those two kind of powers to get somebody out of a fire if I had to.
Yeah, no, it depends on who it is. Like, I'm not going to pretend I'm the best person in the world. Just depends on what family member it is. I might text them, hey, might want to leave the house. It's on fire.
It was really good
I
knowing you.
noticed I noticed the house is on fire 15 minutes ago. I forgot to text you. Want anything from the convenience store?
If you get this, would you like anything?
If it is this still his number? Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend I'm a great person. But yeah, dude. We've gotten older and it's weird to be able to take that time and look back because we have less distractions now, you know. The things that I was chasing after in my 20s, I'm not chasing after now. Trying to
That's for
hook up
sure.
with girls, trying to make all this. I mean, I'm not trying to make money at 2A, 4E, but I am trying to raise funds, which is a different motivation. You know, I'm trying to get us to Texas without emptying out the bank account totally. Not crazy. So I
Well,
think
that comes
one of the
back
things.
to when we're, the question of why activists come and go or why they would bicker or both or mix,
Mhm.
it's part of that. Like you have
Over
to,
resources. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if anybody, I mean, I'm trying to think. There's a couple of people who probably are wealthy and are able to do it without really talking about finances, but there's
Hmm.
nobody who's out there doing any kind of actual activism that is just booking around and doing stuff, without having to raise money. So I guess that's my point, is that if you want to be an activist, you have to be able to raise money. And now some
Yeah.
people do have that skill set easier. Some people do have either a thing going on that makes it easier, or they just have, some donors that make it seem easy or something. So it's not like it's not communism. Not everybody gets the money that they deserve or anything, but it requires that even if you casually would like to do something, unless you're financially whatever stable or something, you can do it as a hobby, like I say, casually, then yeah, you have to also become a money person. And unless
Hmm.
that's your thing, do we have any money people that, the thing is, there's not enough money in activism. So we don't have any real money people that scam, like activism is their scam. Every once in a while that'll happen, but they can't hang, people can figure it out pretty quick. There's a couple, I guess, that hang out, but, like adjacent, I would say. And I don't even know if they're still around, but, so in other words, we're not like a gold mine. So it's not like we have a bunch of scammers over here, but it's not a gold mine. So it's not easy. You can't just say like, hey, I'm an activist. Oh yeah, by the way, here's my handout. give me some money. Like, it's not, no one's having that, like, no one's just collecting money out of a river of gold or anything. It's a pain in the ass. And I would say that's one of the reasons why people, even if they wanted to stick around, can't. And even if they're, I don't know, like, have figured out a mechanism to get the funding, often I'm guessing it's one of those things, how they say there's like that balance. You can get your health, your wealth, and your family or something. And, it's hard to balance all three. You can usually prosper at two or whatever, but someone will suffer.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those kind of balances. There's a lot to juggle, and people might be good at the activism. They might be good at the money. They might be good at keeping their own spirits up or something, but keeping it all going is just, well, we have very, very few of you guys that are doing that.
Yeah, I know. It's really, really difficult. That's why I'm trying to push, so I got the cards. I got some things. I'm going to do t-shirt sale. Like, I'm starting all that stuff up pretty much April 1st. Oh, and I need to, again, get our schedule online so people can click on just, and see our actual 2026 schedule. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
I'll send you the dates. I haven't done that, I don't think.
I think I got the thing from Eventbrite, but I think that's just one of the diversity shoot events, not like the whole schedule.
Yeah, that's an event. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's about fundraising. It really sucks because a lot of people online who do absolutely nothing, they go, how come you're always asking for money? Because everything I do costs money. Everything costs money.
Because there's nobody just paying people to be activists online. That's not a thing.
Like, I want to go to Goals this year, but I can only do so as a speaker because they moved it. It's in Des Moines now, I think. Yeah, it's on the other side of the country. Sure. Yeah, so I have to be flown out there, and I'd like to actually get paid for the time off. But if not, all right, cool. The flight in the room, close enough. I mean, I'm an activist. It's weird. I'm an activist 24/7. I mean, dang well, almost everybody in the industry can call me if they need a guest to talk about either Second Amendment, firearms, diversity, or just anything to be on the program so I can talk about the work we do. That's all the time. Like, I'm always on. It would be great to be able to get paid to actually, not only fly you out, but actually pay you for being there and for your time. But yeah, what I'm trying to do with selling swag, coming up with an e-store or something like that, was just the ability to have money coming in that I don't have to wait for the diversity shoot to happen and then Eventbrite to send us, the cut of that, or waiting for the first of the month to see what comes in on Patreon, which is $130, if anybody's wondering. So that pays for one piece.
Handy. It can definitely allow you to pay, have some bills or some software type of thing, depending on how much money it is, right? Like, it allows you to have some things taken care of. But yeah, there's some Patreons out there that are massive, and they're almost always entertainment things, which is frustrating. Yep. So you can see how it works. You see somebody who's doing, I've been doing a lot of gear reviews. So, it'll be somebody doing, here's these top 10 radios or something, and you'll go look and they'll have a Patreon and people want them to buy radios to do their reviews or whatever. So I can see why somebody would go, here's $3 a month, or here's $5 a month, or whatever it is, right? Because it's almost nothing. What's $3 a month? $36 a year. Mm-hmm. Like, most people can handle $36 a year without even fucking thinking about it in their budget, right? And again, if it's somebody like, I'm going to do reviews of wrenches or screwdrivers or something that you care about over and over and over, and you're only paying whatever I said, $36, it's like a no-brainer. It's like not even a big deal, and especially if it's on a platform you don't have commercials and all that junk. But yeah, like I guess what I was gonna say is then you go look over at their Patreon subscriber number, and it's like 1,000, 5,000. You think about that, and it's like, wow, it's like $3,000 to $15,000 a month potentially that somebody's getting. Mm-hmm. It's like full-time money for a lot of people, right? And well, the 15 side of it, I suppose. But you try doing that in activism. Like, go look and see how many activists have a Patreon or anything like it, or a coffee like that. A writer or somebody, John Petrolino.
Mm-hmm. John Petrolino.
I don't know if he's got a Patreon, But like, you know, that's the kind of thing where, again, if he could, or, you know, was aware of that, he'd have to essentially spend some amount of his effort diverted from writing about what he wants to write about to figuring that shit out in order to, you know, whatever, financially justify the time. And
Actually, yeah,
just, you
I
know,
owe
we're
John a review.
capitalists and shit. It's not like, you know, I'm not saying that there should be a branch of government paying for everybody. I'm just saying that it's a
No.
fact of the thing. You're going to get, the only activists we're going to get are people who are able to do all that stuff for any length of time, because it wears everybody out, or it has worn everyone out so far.
Yeah, I owe John actually a review on the rifle bag that he gave me that I take back and forth to the diversity shoots. Gave it to me last year, but my whole thing is, all right, cool, let's run it. Let's tuck in the back of the truck and see how many guns it holds and how many everything it holds. I mean, it's still a rifle bag, so I haven't been able to break it yet. So I'm thinking half a year of me, it's in pretty good shape because I break stuff. As my mom said, I could break a ball bearing with a powder puff, which is funny because my
Breaking a
mom
ball
said
bearing by
that.
itself is one thing. With a powder puff, that's even better.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you heard the Marine Corps saying, right? You give two Marines you give a Marine 3 ball bearings and put them in a round sealed room with it. You'll come back, one will be missing, the other will be broken, the other one will be pregnant. It's like, so the fact that my mom brought ball bearings up before I ever joined is hilarious. I'm like, I think I'll stick with my mom's thing, but the Marine Corps thing is kind of right. Yeah, one would be missing and one would be broken.
All right. Well, we're at the 3-hour mark now, so I'm thinking,
Yeah, it's
start
time to
wrapping
bail.
up. But it was cool because we were chatting for a bit. I think we riffed like 45 minutes on whatever we started on, and then a couple of people weren't. Well, no, there wasn't very many people. It was just Pack Rat, I think, for the bit there. And then we were thinking, oh, okay, we've been riffing for a while. We'll start to wrap it up. And then Dave showed up, had some good points, and we riffed for a while, and then Outcast. So thanks everybody for keeping the conversation going. We've had a ton of people watching. I haven't really brought it up since they haven't been chatting, and I don't like to beg for, you know, communication. Either communicate or don't. But these are live shows. The whole point is to be part of the show. And I guess we answered one question. We answered a question about a holster earlier, so technically we did what we said we were going to do. But if we got more gun questions, we would answer those.
This is hilarious. So I just posted the next diversity shoot, which is the 19th, Thursday, at Recoil Range in Monroe. I just posted it up. We've already sold 5 tickets. We have a 20 ticket limit. I waited. I apologize for waiting so long. Won't happen again. We sold 5 tickets. All 5 tickets are going to women. Like, freaking awesome, because that's how my event is, dude. And I just love the fact that it's women that feel safe enough. One is returning only for the second time, and 2 of them are freaking steady, come to every event that's held in their area. And another one has brought out her. And all 3 of all these women have brought their entire families out to diversity shoots. So that's the kind of community we're building. Oh yeah, and I guess I could throw a race in. I guess I could throw a race in. I think 2 are minorities and whatever, because I really don't count that. Kind of makes my head hurt when you got to do crap like that. But the fact that they bring their family and friends out and coworkers is awesome to me, and that means way more. So second is for everyone diversity shoots. Go to the website diversityshoot.com. You can see the work we do. Also, you can check out some of the inflammatory things I say by following me at Tony Simon on Facebook. Tony Simon is on Facebook. The second is for everyone is on Facebook. SimonSaysTrain is on Instagram. It's really killing me because
you need to get a little recording that you just play on your phone or something.
No, what I need to do is just change the freaking names. And change the name from Simon Says Train on Instagram to The Second is for Everyone. And also the same thing on, because Second for Everyone is on Facebook. You could, I mean, not Facebook, on X, but you can't use the V. So Second for Everyone is what I have there. I want to keep the same across all platforms, but then I've done this. If I would have done it 11 years ago when I started this, I probably would have had a better chance.
Yeah. I was just saying, I'm
And now
assuming it's because you couldn't get the same name on all the platforms.
yeah. So yeah, it was Tony Simon on Twitter. And then I changed it to Second for Everyone because I didn't know. You know, understand this whole thing wasn't started as, hey, I'm going to start an advocacy thing. It was started as I started an event that just helped educate people, and I kept hosting it like an idiot. And it kept growing because I thought it was important, but it was never a business plan put together to make the Second is for Everyone diversity shoots into this thing. And now it's become this thing through people like yourself and others believing in it, and me being silly enough to keep doing it.
Well,
But it's
doing
like
it,
now it's time.
and the ranges being gracious enough to give you the space.
100%. And my volunteers, like everything is more than just me. It's the thing that was built by consistently showing up and other people believed in it is giving it the momentum. It isn't, yeah, Tony's this great salesperson, dynamic personality, and he can just make anything come true. No, this is something I passionately believe in. I think it's necessary. And I want to promote the good people that are doing the things. It's never about me, it's about the mission. But I can push the mission through being in places.
When you mention ladies showing up and showing up like whenever the show, whenever you host one in their area type of thing, so that they can rely on it, or what's the word, like, go to it on a regular basis, I guess, made me think that like that is interesting or neat, because like when I was working at the shop, I mean, I hung out at the shop, and then the guys that worked at the shop, I can't remember for how long, but for a certain amount of time there, we were all of the like mind to grab our shotguns on Wednesday and go shoot at this mat. They call it like a league, I guess, at this range. And it was a little bit of a hassle. It was like probably a 45-minute drive, but for the longest time, we all enjoyed it, and it was working in everybody's schedule. Like, we scheduled time to do it, and we were all having a good time doing it. And I'm assuming they're going to get that same kind of, I don't know what to call it, but like, just good time, except, around guns, except that if you're not a gun person who knows that you can join a league to do that, and we just all happen to, be lined up at where we wanted to do that. Cause me, or if you know me, I'm not a shotgun guy. Like, I don't, my life doesn't revolve around shotguns, but for whatever reason, more than likely because everybody was doing it, and shotguns are fun to shoot, especially when you're shooting at moving things. That is fun about them. It all worked out, and we all were able to do it. Now, I forget, it must have been months. I forget, like, however long the league lasts, probably, right? And then we just never did it again. But for a while there, like, that was a lot of fun. And it's just that thing where, like, that your friends are going, that you're all taking time to do it. It just makes it much more special, or more exciting, or more fun, or whatever you want to say. And it's not a job, it's not something you have to do. And it's just, like being in a club, or being in an organization or something. It's, it's just like going to a monthly meeting or something. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. And all I'm getting at is that if you weren't a gun person, you would have never known to do that. So what you're offering is reaching out to people and providing them a place at a gun range, but here and there, but you're giving them a place to get together and meet. But then it's focused around guns and all the other stuff, and all the other positive stuff you're saying. Like, now those ladies who just are getting together to hang out with each other at this point, it sounds like, catch up, see how the kids are doing, fart around, instead of doing that at the bakery or at some place making ashtrays in a kiln. They're hanging out with you shooting, and now they're able to, be ambassadors, or whatever you want to call them.
And people have asked me, yeah, but I mean, all they're doing is hanging out. Hold on. No, not all they're doing is hanging out. One of them actually ran for office. And again, she knew people from coming to this event. So that allowed her to have volunteers. That allowed her to have a circle of people, the Venn diagram of activists and people that she knew from our events, allowed them to spread the word about her campaign. You know what I mean? So that got more eyes on her than ever been before just by her working it. One of the others, she got her paperwork going, and she will be owning a firearm. Like, she started that because of the events, because of how confident she's been coming over and over. She also knows what she wants to buy. And she was the one that almost made me cry at my event because she was talking about how this has brought her and her son closer together, because he came to the event because he thought guns were cool from video games, but he never really, touched it. And then when mom's bringing back pictures of her running ARs and short barrel rifles, or at least what looks like a short barrel rifle, but the Jersey legal version, he was like, can I go? Yeah, you can go. She didn't think she would have that connection. So that's all happening from repeat people. It's not like they show up and then they become Joanna Wick and also march on Washington. No, this is a lifestyle thing that I want to promote in any way possible. So if there's something that's a social gathering with them, fine. But they've also brought, every member of their family to the event that got to see this stuff too. And what does that turn into? Possible conversations away from us, conversations with people that have nothing to do with Jersey, that might not even live in this state, that's happening on a college campus or academy somewhere on the other side of the country. You never know what this will grow, but I know you're never going to convince me it's a bad thing that I'm doing what I'm doing.
No.
All right, so thanks, guys. If you can support the work we do, diversityshoot.com is where you can go. We have everything from PayPal to Patreon to Cash App. So if you want to help us out, please do. I'll be coming up with something. I'll announce it on this show, obviously, when we get whatever items we have and merch rolling, so we can actually have, you can give me money for a thing that you receive back in your hand. I think that'll help a lot more than just, here's $5 for Tony. It's like, hey, I bought this patch, this sticker, this T-shirt, and Tony got $5 from the sale of that.
And
I think that would help.
Different people out there, and I mean, there's lots of different strategies, but so like having like, this is the one. Do we seen what are they called from? I haven't thought of it in a minute. The ones from Ohio, Faster Saves Lives. When you
Faster Saves Lives, yep.
Yeah, they have a training, and then they have matches, I think, or at least things like postal matches, I think is what it is, that you can participate. And I think they might be incremental. They do something along the lines of training, and it's kind of like combatant or whatever they're called in Georgia also. But anyway, people I'm thinking of do incremental patches, so they'll have like kind of like belts in martial arts. You get this belt or this patch for this level, and then once you do a little bit more, then you earn this patch, and you do a little bit more, then you earn, not like you earn the patch, but you earn the ability to buy the patch. Otherwise you have to, you must be this high before you can ride. So it's like a threshold, I guess,
like the NRA Winchester marksmanship thing,
maybe without the skill set, just time on the clock. Anyway, so something like that can be merch, or maybe just like, Yankee has done things before where he's like, if you do it at the $5 level, it's the blue. And if you do it at the $12 level, it's the green. And if you do it, you know what I mean? So that has something to do with it. But anyway, that's all I'm saying. It's like the merch can be at a level of an indicator or of something that people, if it's a collectible or something that people are going to, or maybe something people want to just put on their patch panel to show off that they're supporting at that level. Maybe a company or a store, it's a way. I remember walking into gun shops back in the day. Often the gun shops would have like little framed pieces of paper up that said like, we're supporting this competitive shooter or this little league team or something like that. I mean, like a tire shop will say we're supporting this little league team. Same kind of thing for stuff like what you're doing. So I think that, merch doesn't have to just be for somebody who like, I want a new hat. You should have that, because there are people that just like, I want a new hat anyway, and I'd rather be, have a hat with your name on it than Nike or something. So it's worth having merch with just the name of the place. But I think having some other stuff, some other strategies is there too, because there's plenty of room, and merch these days is almost print on demand, or whatever. You can get print on demand of so many different things. In other words, you don't have to waste a lot of resources buying, like back in the day, if you wanted to have t-shirts for people, you'd have to buy 100 t-shirts and decide 25 are going to be large and 50 of them are going to be extra large, and 17 are going to be small and the rest will be mediums or something. And then you print the thing out and they would charge you per color. And then you'd have all these shirts, and then you'd have to buy bags or something to ship them all in and all that. And nowadays you just, you can hook stuff up and have it created individually or in little batches, or anyway, the times are changing all the time.
All right, man.
Yep.
It was great talking to everybody. Yeah, we got to get out of here. I got to go eat.
I hear that. I'm thinking the same thing. So thanks everybody for joining us. People have quit chatting too, so that's an indicator that we're done. So did we solve 2A? No, the news has us worried about what to buy mostly. That's what I named my show yesterday. Like, news happened.
Yeah, I saw it.
Here's what to be afraid of and what to buy about it. All right, so let me make sure I've got something on here. Oh, I do. I have a cool thing on here, so we'll end it and we'll see you next week. Were we back next week? This week is the week I had an eye doctor, so I wasn't sure I was going to do it this week. Next week, I don't think I have anything going on.
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
So we'll probably be back next week. Okay.